Family weekend on the Furman campus. They were digging in and having fun at their tailgates before the game. Now they're getting ready to settle in and cheer on the home team. The Mercer Bears are in town to take on the Paladins, and we've got this SoCon showdown coming up next. We welcome you to our Ingalls SoCon Game of the Week here at Paladin Stadium in Greenville, South Carolina. The home team is about to play a SoCon opener in front of the locals for just the third time since 2011. The Mercer Bears already have a victory in SoCon play so far in 2019. Hi, friends, and welcome in with Jared Singleton, Pete Hannity with you. A couple of ball clubs guided by young quarterbacks. Robert Riddle for Mercer, Darren Granger for Furman. Each has put up some good numbers so far, but it seems like they're also still trying to discover what they can do when they have the ball.
Yeah, both teams, they've had great years so far, but they're still trying to figure out their identity on offense. And so it should be interesting this afternoon to see if they can find that identity.
One of the key pieces for that Mercer attack, Tyree Devison, the junior running back who a year ago had a career-high 185 yards rushing against Furman.
Yeah, they call him the bowling ball for a reason, Pete. He's low center to the ground. He has a lot of power, great vision. He could have a great day today against this Paladin defense.
One of the guys on the Furman defense that'll be keeping an eye on Devison, Braden Gilby, the redshirt freshman who's the reigning SoCon Defensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, he had 12 tackles last week against Virginia Tech. He's going to have his hands full, so it should be very interesting to see what he can do to try to slow down this Mercer offense.
Furman's won 3 of the 5 games played since this series was renewed back in 2014, but all the contests have been decided by 7 points or less. We expect a close game today, and when we come back, we kick it off here in Greenville. Mercer about to meet for the 18th time, going way back into the early 1900s. But again, Mercer dropped football for a while. Series renewed in 2014. And opposing coaches who go back a long way, Clay Hendricks and Bobby Lamb, childhood friends and high school and college teammates, and then colleagues on the same Furman staff. And now they have been going head-to-head for the third time. And Clay Hendricks, third season as a head coach, 2-0 against the Mercer Bears. And maybe he guides the very best team in all of FCS based on the fact the Paladins may show a 1-2 overall record, but they certainly had their chances the past 2 weeks against FBS opponents, coming very close against Georgia State and Virginia Tech, and here they are now back in SoCon play. Let's give you our keys to the game, Jared.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting game, I think, from both sides of the ball, because you have one team that, you know, their offensive style is running the option, and so they're going to take away a lot of those possessions from the other team, from Mercer. So Mercer needs to capitalize on every possession that they get. And if you're Furman, you want to just kind of stay on schedule. You want to make sure you run the football. You want to have positive yards on first and second downs. So we should have a great ball game this afternoon.
Devin Folser kicking it away, and it'll be returned. Trying to find room, and eventually being tripped up is Devin Wynn on that run back, and the Paladins will take over just beyond their own 20-yard line. A Furman team that comes into this ball game offensively, averaging over 400 yards a game. And a Mercer defense that a year ago against Furman allowed 434 yards, giving up just over 383 yards per contest. Quarterback for the Paladins, number 4, Darren Granger. So Darren Granger, the redshirt freshman quarterback out of Conway, South Carolina, off to a good start in his second year in the program. The offense is his, and he will give the handoff to Devin Wynn. And Wynn, well, you saw him run it back on the kickoff. Now he bursts out across the 45-yard line. First down, nice gain of better than 20 yards on his first touch for Wynn.
Yeah, great job by the offensive line, kind of creating some holes for him. Just a simple, play right up the gut. Kind of want to get a feel of what the defense is doing, but ended up going for 20 yards. Great job by Furman's offense by getting started and staying on script.
Wynn had 135 yards rushing on 28 carries against Mercer a year ago. They set him up outside. Off play action, Granger looking over the middle, looking long for Thomas Gordon, has him open, and he reaches out, pulls it in. It'll be 1st and goal for the Paladins at the 5.
I tell you, Pete, fantastic job. Granger did a fantastic job of kind of letting the play develop, letting his guy get in position, and then you see 2 big explosive plays by the offense. Look at him reading, letting the play set up, and boom, great arm. You see the arm strength. That's been one thing that he's developed this offseason is his deep ball throw. Great job, and now you have 1st and goal for this Paladin offense.
Darian Wiggins on the coverage for Mercer, but 1st and goal at the 6-yard line. So the Paladins trying to strike early. They've got 2 Devons in their backfield. One of them's Wynn, one of them's Abrams. We've seen a full helping of Devin Wynn so far, and he comes up just shy of scoring his 3rd touchdown of the year, and the Paladins knocking on the door here in the early going.
Yeah, they're really getting off to a fast start. You couldn't ask for a better start offensively if you're Coach Hendricks. As you see here, he kind of bounces outside. You kind of want to see more north-south running from your big tailback, but hey, you got 2nd and goal from the, looks like the 1-inch line. It should be able to punch it in soon here.
Furman comes in averaging 35 points a game, and mind you, 2 of their first 3 opponents from the FBS level, and it's Corey Watkins who does the honors, his 1st touchdown of his sophomore season, and the Paladins march right down the field, a drive that began at their own 21, and just like that, they've got the early advantage.
Yeah, fantastic job being able to capitalize and getting the ball, getting points on the board early. That's what Coach Hendricks wants. And you're able to see a little bit of pass and run, Pete. And that's kind of what Coach Hendricks wants to see from his offense. He wants to see balance. He wants to see Granger making the right reads from the run standpoint, but also making the right throws from a passing standpoint.
79-yard drive in just 4 plays. Here's Grayson Atkins, not only one of the very best in the Southern Conference, one of the top kickers in all of Division I. And the Furman Paladins able to break on top early on. A drive that featured a lot of Devin Wynn. Paladins trying for a 3rd straight in the series with the early advantage.
Overall record and a 31-1 SoCon mark. A 4-time All-SoCon selected as a midfielder. He helped Furman to 4.
The very first meeting between Furman and Mercer in football back in 1914, and in the early 40s, Mercer dropped football, brought it back earlier this decade with Bobby Lamb, the Furman alum, rebuilding their program. Played a couple of years in the Pioneer League, moved into the Southern Conference about 5 years ago, and here they are meeting for a 6th time since the series was renewed in 2014. And I'll tell you, Jared, it has been a close series, if nothing else. The 5 games they've played in this decade decided by 7 points or less, 2 of them by 5 points, 1 of them by 3 points.
You would expect that, Pete. I mean, Coach Lamb, he knows this program very well. He knows how they recruit. And he kind of knows their tradition. So you would kind of expect it to be a kind of, tit for tat when it comes to this series.
Mercer among the best return teams in the country. In fact, the fellow at the bottom of your screen, David Durden, 2nd in FCS in kickoff return yards at just under 41 per return. He started the season with an 82-yard run back against Western Carolina. Grayson Atkins kicks it away, and he's been phenomenal at gaining touchbacks, and he'll add a 13th and 18 kickoffs so far in 2019, and Mercer will go to work offensively at their own 25-yard lines. We talk about a couple of offenses with redshirt freshman quarterbacks, each who only played limited numbers of games last year for varying reasons, but with Robert Riddle so far in their 3 games, a Mercer that's 1st in the SoCon at better than 430 yards a game. They can throw it all over the place, and they lead the league at 42.7 points per game. So they're a team that knows how to score.
Not only that, they have weapons on the outside. They have good backs, and it all starts with the big guys up front. So, quick start by Furman. From their offense, I wouldn't be surprised if Mercer, they just kind of do the same thing. They kind of get to what they're good at. They probably have a set of plays that they want to, kind of make sure they run on this first series, see what the defense is giving them. So I really think if I'm Mercer, I'm not going to freak out too much about how explosive Furman was able to score on that first possession.
7 yards on that first carry for Tyree Devison, the junior out of Woodstock, Georgia. Riddle throwing his tight end Chris Ellington, who's become a weapon for them at 5 grabs last week in their tough loss against Austin Peay, and that'll be a 1st down.
Yeah, you see Robert Riddle, he's just kind of going through, making sure he's getting his guys in the right play, taking what the defense gives him. He's not going to get, he's the guy that doesn't get too rattled, Pete. So I think, having a little bit of experience and kind of being healthy this year is really going to benefit him this year and hopefully this afternoon.
Riddle from Lookout Mountain, Tennessee, played at the McCallie School as a high schooler. Last year, got off to a good start, won the starting job, then was injured 4 games in. He's throwing deep early on for his top target, David Durden, and good coverage on the play. Durden looked like he had an angle on the ball, but Darius Kearse thought otherwise. And it'll bring up 2nd down and 10.
Kearse did a fantastic job kind of staying with it. You're right, Durden had better position, but Kearse stayed with the ball and made sure that it was not completed. Good job. But as you can see, Mercer's offense is not afraid to try to stretch this defense out. So I wouldn't be surprised to see more of that coming in this afternoon.
Clay Hendricks, the Furman coach, noting that Mercer tends to be a pass-first offense. Here, Devison, hard yards inside. It'll bring up 3rd down and long. And good work by that Furman defensive front. Matt Chichovka in on the tackle there. They've got one of the best pass rushers in the country in Adrian Hope. And someone like Devison, Mercer hopes, can be kind of a counteraction to the fact that Furman can get after the quarterback.
They can, and so you want to try to switch it up. You want to give them a dose of run. You want to be able to throw the ball. You want to be able to keep Furman's defense on their heels throughout the afternoon.
3rd down and 9, and firing toward the far sideline toward Durden, but incomplete. And the Paladins defense coming up with the stop. And we'll see the punting unit for the first time. Furman defensively in the early going, keep in mind, everything you talk about Furman statistically skewed by the teams they played the past couple of weeks, but they were at 48% in 3rd down defense coming into this game. So we're going to see Grant Gopel, the sophomore punter out of Lake Mary, Florida.
And you know, Pete, if I'm Mercer or if I'm their fans watching this game, I'm not too nervous about that first possession. It's the first possession of the game. Most of the time when you come out on your first possession, you kind of want to see what the defense is going to give you. You kind of want to see what formations you're going to see. Oh, ball.
Fumble as Amir Trapp tried to return it. Looks like the Paladins fall on it. Lost a few yards after Trapp had it knocked away, but Furman able to come away with the football. Looked like Jalen Miller was the one who fell on it. 7-0 Paladins early on here in Greenville. With Jared Singleton, Pete Hannity with you here at Paladin Stadium. Furman goes on offense for the 2nd time this afternoon when they had the ball first. 4 plays and 79 yards, and just like that, they built their 7-0 lead. And back to your point about the early offensive series for teams and their importance.
Yeah, I mean, you know, most coordinators have about 5 or 10 plays that they want to go ahead and run despite you know, what the situation is in the game. And so if I'm Mercer, they want to run those plays, see what formations they were getting defensively from Furman, and that way they can make early adjustments to say, hey, we thought we were going to get this in practice, but instead they showed us this, and we're going to make some early adjustments. And same for Furman. They want to get into different formations and see what they're getting on defense from Mercer so they can make the right adjustments early on and try to get that advantage.
Jamar Hall on that stop as Granger ran the option. Now when you talk about a Furman offense and making adjustments as the Paladins get ready for a 2nd down and 6. Option and the pitch. And Wynn had that big first series after his initial kickoff return. That's good for 1st down yards. But a Furman team that Bobby Lamb, the Mercer coach, says pretty much is running 5 offenses in one.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, early on you're going to get different looks by the defense depending on what type of formation you're going to get. Here, Granger being in the shotgun, you may get a different type of defense from Mercer, and it makes it challenging because you're not sure what you're going to get. Here, it looks like they're lining up under center again with 3 backs in the backfield. Oh, and then they shift, and now you're going to get a different defense from Mercer because of that shift and because of the different formation. So something to keep a lookout for if you're at home watching this game.
Granger a really good start as he finds Thomas Gordon right there, as Paladins have been effective both on the ground and throwing the ball so far. Of course, it was his big connection to Gordon that set up that first touchdown.
I mean, this Furman offense is powerful, Pete. I mean, they have a quarterback that's confident. That's the thing. When you have a quarterback that's confident in the offense, confident in his offensive line, it makes it very difficult to try to contain and slow that down.
Granger effective in the passing game so far this season, 63%. Handoff to Watkins. And we'll bring up a 3rd down and short for a Furman team that's at 46% on 3rd down so far. And keep in mind, that was facing a Power 5 defense a week ago when they were right in the game to the wire against Virginia Tech in a different bounce or two. And it was a 7-point loss, might have been one of the big upsets of last weekend, and would have been a second upset of an ACC team by a SoCon team with what the Citadel was able to get done in Atlanta against Georgia Tech. Player down on the field for Mercer looks like Sidney Otiwu, their junior linebacker out of Buford, Georgia. Athletic training staff attending to him. Furman getting the ball after the kickoff return by Wynn, which had a lot of east to west to it, and they took over at their own 21. And Devin Wynn, such an effective player for this Paladins team, helping them on special teams. That trip up tackle probably saved about 15 or 20 yards, but you see the effectiveness of what an option quarterback with the talents of Darren Granger can do for you. The long connection to Gordon inside the 10 as he got behind the defensive back Darian Wiggins, and then eventually doing the honors for the score was Watkins for the touchdown. And it's interesting, Granger only really played quarterback his senior year of high school at Conway, one of the longtime powers in South Carolina. He was injured his junior year, and he's only had roughly a half a dozen college games in which he's seen action as the flags fly. And let's see if they're going to get Mercer for jumping or if this will be a legal procedure. So it's really the poise that Granger shows with as little experience as he really has competitively at quarterback. It's very impressive.
It's impressive.
And that'll go against Mercer, so Furman gets the first down.
But you know, Pete, it's definitely impressive. But the thing is, you have so many camps and you have so many combines that these young athletes are exposed to in high school. I'm not surprised to see these young guys come in and they're so focused, they're so mature, they have a cool, calm collectedness about themselves. And they're really mature players coming in as freshmen, so I'm not surprised by that at all.
Seen a lot of Watkins and Wynn so far, and Watkins turns the corner, gets into Mercer territory, and it'll be another first down for the Paladins, this time at the 41. Corey Watkins coming into this ball game, 10 carries for 42 yards, but a year ago he had 86 against this Mercer defense.
You're seeing a little bit of everything from this Furman offense. I mean, they're lining up under center, they're lining up in shotgun, they're spreading you out. You really don't know what you're going to get if you're Mercer's defense.
And we're actually going to call that a forward pass because it was had a forward pitch presence to it. Play action again over the middle. Nice grab as the bullets strike to Avery Armstrong. Granger another completion, and the march continues to the Paladins, trying to add on to this early 7-0 lead.
They've had a lot of positive activity so far in this first quarter, Pete. I mean, really, they've been able to take whatever they want. You know, whether it's running the football, whether it's throwing the ball deep down the field, some mid-range throws as well. They look very controlled in this game so far.
13 yards on that pickup after the 19-yard dump to Watkins. Mercer shoring up that time as Wynn was running left. We told you earlier they've got a two-headed Devin monster coming out of their offensive backfield. Wynn and then Abrams, Devin Abrams, kind of their Mr. Inside, but we've seen primarily Devin Wynn and Corey Watkins so far, and they have been effective in these first two series for the Paladins.
Second and 9.
Gain of 1 on that last play, so a second down and 9. Again, play action, pressure comes. Firing downfield, Granger, man open, but he overshoots his target, Ryan Miller, the tight end. It looks like the pressure that was applied that time by Michael Freeman kind of disrupted the flow of that play. There's a flag down, so we'll see what that's all about. Looks like an ineligible receiver downfield. Our referee today is Bob Johnson.
There's no foul on the play for an ineligible downfield. He was only 3 yards downfield.
And there's your answer. Pressure came from Freeman. I think that was a big part of this play.
Yeah, Mercer decided to bring some pressure, but when you bring pressure, sometimes on the back end, you have guys wide open. Unfortunately, Granger didn't see him soon enough to make the right throw. But I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back to that later on.
Mercer, a first-year for defensive coordinator Mike Adams with the Bears, and he is used to defending the options. I think that's a feather in their cap. Granger showing you what he can do with his legs, and he's got a first down inside the red zone. The Paladins knocking on the door again.
Granger, he really has the full package. He's able to survey the entire field. He's able to use his great footwork in the pocket, and then he didn't see what he liked, and then he was able to get positive yards, get a first down, and keep the chains moving.
17 yards on that carry for Granger.
Yeah, fantastic job, and they're in the red zone now, knocking on the door, trying to put more points on the board.
Furman best in the SoCon, 11 touchdowns so far this season in 12 tries inside the opponent's 20. Another shovel to Watkins, looking to turn the corner. A nice job out on the boundary. Eric Jackson, the strong safety out of Powder Springs, Georgia. Safe to say he might have denied a touchdown right there.
Probably, but the way this offense is looking right now, they can't be stopped. But let's give some praise to the big boys up front. They've been able to create great openings and create time for Granger to be able to go through all of his progressions and make sure he's getting the right reads.
Mercer's defense coming in second in the SoCon, allowing just over 27 points a game, but on the verge of giving up a couple of touchdowns early. Granger trying to work his way outside. They can get a first down, as you can see, if they get inside of the 2, and it'll bring up third down and short.
Such a tough physical run. You know, sometimes you don't want to see that from your quarterback, but a guy like Granger who, you know, he runs the ball really well. He protects the ball, keeps it high and tight. You feel confident when he's able to run the ball with such physicality.
Granger didn't play against Mercer a year ago, and for that matter, Riddle was injured for the Furman Mercer game, which capped off the 2018 season. Third down and 1. And into the game is Abrams, his first carry, and you see the strength as he gets across the goal line. Touchdown.
Number 32, Devin Abrams.
Devin Abrams, his third rushing touchdown this season. The redshirt freshman out of Pensacola, Florida.
I'd say the thing that you can look at home, what they did was they brought an extra lineman to the right side, and they just handed the ball off to Abrams. They told you, we're coming to the right side, we're bringing an extra big body over there, and Abrams did the rest by making sure he put his head low, kept those feet moving, and got into the end zone. Fantastic job by Abrams, and great job by the big boys up front.
Paladins with a interesting look, to say the least, as to how they prepare for the extra point. They are going to go ahead and review that touchdown to see if perhaps Abrams' knee was down before he got the ball across the plane.
Yeah, as you see, they brought an extra lineman to the right side, and this is a simple handoff up, right off tackle. He bounces it, great vision, hat on the hat, saw the hole. I think he's in, Pete. That looks like a touchdown to me.
Freeman wrapped him up but couldn't pull him down, and that's because Abrams at 6'1" and 218 is a tough guy to pull down to the ground. And we await word from the folks in the booth for Southern Conference over the past couple of seasons, integrating replay into their football games. It's been a big addition for the conference, and you see Bob Johnson, our lead referee, on the headphones. Of course, we've noted today the Paladins coming off back-to-back games against FBS opponents. That's pretty unique as far as the nation is concerned. Let's get the call from Bob Johnson.
The rolling on the field is confirmed. Touchdown.
So Devin Abrams indeed credited with his third touchdown of the season.
Yeah, Pete, I was going to say, if you're Mercer's defense, what do you try to stop? Because they've seen a little bit of everything from this Furman offense so far. They've seen some deep balls thrown at them. They've seen some mid-range throws. They've seen some triple option. They've seen some quarterback reads. I'm shaking my head right now if I'm Coach Bobby Lamb from Mercer, because I'm trying to figure out, what do you take away?
Now they set up with kind of a crazy look. Jack Harden, number 7, the holder, and one of their backup quarterbacks. And
Grayson Atkins on for the
Swinging
PAT.
gate formation you see a lot in punt protection. Well, in that case, they gave it that look. But Atkins now will step in and kick through his second extra point of the game, and he's now 13 out of 14 in that category on this season. Well, we've seen a lot of Devin Wynn. Now we've seen Devin Abrams. He gives the Paladins a 14-0 lead here in the opening quarter. Our Ingles SoCon Game of the Week coming to you from Greenville, South Carolina today. Again, our thanks to Ingles. Low prices, love the savings. A great sponsor of our weekly presentations all around the SoCon, and a great corporate partner as well. Ingles SoCon Game of the Week has the Furman Paladins ahead 14-0. This time a shorter kick than Atkins usually delivers, and the run back by Johnson. He'll get out close to the 30-yard line, and Mercer will go back to work offensively. Paladins have had the ball twice. They scored in a hurry on a 4-play drive at the outset, and then that time 12 plays covering 77 yards, took 6 minutes and 1 second off the clock, and here they are, and here's Mercer in a hole. And we noted Furman does a good job at getting after the quarterback. 9 sacks so far to lead the Southern Conference. A year ago, that guy, as a redshirt freshman, Adrian Hope, had 15 sacks, and he wasn't even a starter. In fact, this is just his second career start, but he's their stand-up bandit defensive end, and he's a guy we'll keep an eye on today. And so will Robert Riddle in the offensive line, as Devizin on the dump-off gets across the 35.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big dose of Devizin on this drive. If you're Mercer, you want to be able to keep your defense off the field because you want them to, last the whole game. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big dose of the run game right here, short passes, maybe some screens to try to create a long drive and put some points on the board.
Play action in the flat. Ellington, the tight end. First down out across the 45.
Great safe play. That's what you want to see. That moves the chains. It's not the most attractive thing, but it moves the chains. It builds confidence. They brought a little pressure from the edge. Great job by Robert Riddle, reading and seeing what the defense was giving him. Quick dump pass, first down.
Ellington's role really increasing in this passing game. Team with 7 catches on the season, 5 of those a week ago against Austin Peay. And the dump off underneath, and Durden, the top receiver in terms of receptions and one of the top 2 in the SoCon in yards per game, and both are on this team. And for the first time in our game today, Mercer in Furman territory, and you see the SoCon leads in scoring and yards per game. And Robert Riddle, a guy who really was impressive before he got hurt in game 4 last year, as there's a Furman player down. And it's Kearse, the cornerback, who the athletic training staff will come attend to.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if I'm Mercer, I'm not too concerned, because as you can see, they can put points on the board if they need to. They're a very explosive offense. Seeing that Furman's corner just went down, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to attack the replacement that's coming in on that corner side.
And Riddle's done a good job doing that. 60% passing coming in, over 800 yards, and 11 touchdowns thrown so far. Has him tied for the national lead in FCS. Next week, we are right back here to see the team before your very eyes. The Furman Paladins take on ETSU, one of the ball clubs. They ended up in that tie for the SoCon championship a year ago, and that should be quite a game. Early on in the season, Furman had a game against Colgate canceled because of hurricane issues and the travel from upstate New York that caused Colgate. Then they had to go play at ETSU, and frankly, it felt like they were a little bit rusty. That's what they tell us, and they had some bumps in that game. But ETSU put on an amazing comeback to get the victory in Johnson City. So the Paladins will have revenge on their minds, and based on their start today, they could well be trying for a 2-0 beginning to this 2019 campaign, as Darius Kearse walks off under his own strength. I'm not sure what it is that caused him to go down. And we will keep an eye on him and see if he's able to come back into play. Amir Trapp among their other corners that'll see a lot of action today. Riddle sees pressure comes, so he gets out of the pocket, gets the first down, and a QB not necessarily known as a guy that's going to run for a lot of yards. He can run to extend plays, but pretty nice effort, pretty nice reaction that time.
Yeah, you said it best, Pete. He runs to extend plays to try, and he keeps his eyes downfield. That's the thing about Robert Riddle. He does a great job of being able to keep his eyes down the field to attack and get that big play, but keeps the chains moving. Wouldn't be surprised if he takes a shot to the end zone, especially against the backup corner right now.
Looking to throw, pressure comes. He tried to dump it off to the tight end and got rid of it just in time. But boy, oh boy, there's the guy who won the SoCon Defensive Player of the Week, Braden Gilby, getting in there and forcing the action.
Yeah, Gilby had a great week last week against Virginia Tech, and we heard all week long from Coach Hendricks that he's going to come out with his hair on fire. He's trying to make sure he applies pressure. He wants to disrupt this Mercer offense as much as he can.
So it'll be 2nd down and 10, and a heads-up play by Riddle just to avoid the sack. Looking right, connecting, and Cannon has it inside the 30, and that'll be a first down and the first catch of the ball game by Tucker Cannon, who's tops in the Southern Conference at 95 receiving yards a game.
So what they're trying to do, Furman's defense, they don't want to get beat deep. They don't want to get beat with the big play, so they're keeping everything in front of them. By doing that, these short range 8-7 yard hitches, those type of throws are going to be wide open. And so, you know, Mercer's offense being able to capitalize on those opportunities is going to be very key in this game.
Cannon able to get some extra yards after he broke away from the tackle try by Gilby. First and 10. Devison, and he is pushed back as he gets close to the 25-yard line, and that time Gilby a little bit of anger after that previous play.
I told you, he's got his hair on fire. He's coming out here. He's determined. He's heard all week long from his coaches about how great Mercer's offense is, how great Robert Riddle is, and so he's coming out here wanting to make a statement early on.
Think about this Furman team on both sides of the ball. You look around, and a lot of the players who are emerging as key guys are all true freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomores, so they're really building a nice future here as well. Riddle, that looked like a designed run. And we'll bring up 3rd down for Mercer. Donovan Perriman able to make the tackle.
Big 3rd down right here, Pete.
Mercer 43.6%. 4th in the conference on 3rd downs. We told you about the rough number on 3rd downs for Furman's defense, but again, Georgia State and Virginia Tech, their 2 most recent opponents. Devison dumped in the flat, able to break away from one, and he's able to get the first down. Great job by Tyree Devison. Looked like Jonah Tibbs had him drop for a loss. But once he broke away from Timms, he was able to get the needed yards.
Yeah, and not only that, Pete, it looks like he was able to keep his balance. That's what makes him such a great back. He's able to keep his balance, kind of keep his vision downfield. Fantastic job. I think we have some of that, a flag on the play. Do we? Or maybe they picked it up. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it looked like maybe inadvertently tossed. So inside the red zone for the first time today for Mercer. Last season, they were the best team in the conference in red zone offense and more power running. Devison, who a year ago was one of the better rushers in the conference, but they also had one of the great running backs in Mercer history, T. Mitchell. So this is Devison's show this year, coming off that 2018 campaign when he was 2nd in the SoCon in rushing. 2nd down 6, and again, it's the guy that his head coach affectionately refers to as the bowling ball, and he's picked up another first down.
Pete, the patience that Devison runs the ball with, especially deep down in the red zone, is getting so close to the touchdown. He does a fantastic job. He stays low. He's not a tall guy, and he's able to kind of hang, you know, and hide behind those big offensive linemen. So this is his area to shine. Hopefully they can punch it in and get some points on the board.
As it turns out, that was our final play of the opening quarter, one in which the Furman Paladins scored each time they had the ball. Mercer, though, is threatening as we head to quarter number 2. Tyree Devison had touched the ball the last 3 times of that opening quarter for Mercer. You see the balance he gives their offense.
Yeah, he's the type of guy that's a great compliment to this offense that puts up a lot of points in the conference. Has great balance, great patience as a runner. He's taking some hits, but he's built for it. He's a big back, low center, kind of a low center body cut guy. He's especially here in the red zone, this is his time to shine.
Devizin, 4 touches on what's been an 11-play drive so far as we start the second quarter here at Paladin Stadium in Greenville on our Ingles SoCon Game of the Week with Jared Singleton, Pete Hannity with you, and as Mercer lines up for a 1st and goal at the 6, the penalty flags come dropping in and they'll walk back 5 yards. In that opening quarter of play, each team snapping the ball 16 times, but Furman essentially doubling the total yards output compared to Mercer, 158 to 76.
Yeah, Furman's had some pretty explosive plays. Mercer's been more of kind of a dink and dunk type offense so far this game, but they have a lot of balance and a lot of weapons, so I wouldn't be surprised if they use more of that in this second quarter.
Frozen line, not sure that was intended, looked like a broken play, and Riddle just able to throw it away. I believe he was far enough out on the boundary that they called that intentional ground. But 1st and goal at the 6.
Yeah, these are the type of drive killers right here. You've had a penalty, then the second play looks to be like a busted play. You kind of want to get back on script if you're Mercer here.
2nd and goal from the 11. Riddle, Cannon, hit hard from behind. It actually probably helped his cause. Boy, the pop delivered big time. Landon Lawrence, the defensive tackle, catching up in the play, but Mercer's a little bit closer. And there is a player down for the Bears. And let's see if that's Cannon who took that hard shot from behind.
Yeah, he took it hard. He's going to feel that tomorrow, but he's definitely feeling that right now. Took a big blow. Like you said, kind of gave him a big boost closer to the end zone. But he definitely took the shot there, and it looks like we have a penalty on the play.
And an eligible receiver downfield for Mercer, so wipe that away. It looked like a gain of about 10 yards. Cannon really taking the shot from Lawrence, and you see Tucker Cannon, who's emerged as a big threat so far this season for Mercer, the 4th-year junior out of Dunwoody, Georgia, from just outside of Atlanta, now sitting up.
You know, Pete, he got up pretty quick after the hit initially, but it's like the hit kind of caught up with him, and so, but he looks to be okay.
And he'll walk off under his own strength.
Yeah.
Riddle and crew backed up to the Furman 16-yard line.
Number 80, Tucker Cannon, shaking up on the play.
So Furman, as you see, they went over and huddled around during that injury timeout. Paladins a year ago allowed 408 yards of total offense in their season-ending win against Mercer. And a Mercer team that last week against Austin P, really the defense did a pretty good job. It was 2 pick sixes and also a block punt that led to a field goal. That was really the big story in what was eventually a 14-point loss.
Yeah, I mean, those kind of mistakes would definitely hurt your chances to win the ball game. But, you know, Furman has really come out here today, I think, on offense and defense with a chip on their shoulder. Pete, we've seen that. And, you know, Mercer right here on this particular drive, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot. So, you know, 2nd and goal right here. Hopefully they can try to get half of these yards back and try to put some points on the board.
Temps in the mid-80s on this first day of fall, and on that field turf, obviously a little bit warmer. Devizin, and able to cut back and then get inside the 10-yard line. You see, he just kind of bounces off people, or defenders bounce off him.
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, you kind of look at how low he is to the ground, but how powerful he is. I mean, he's a hard guy to bring down. Like you said, Pete, he kind of bounces off of guys. He runs very patient. He runs behind his pads. So now he puts his team in position at 3rd and goal from the 9, it looks like, to hopefully get some points.
3rd and goal for Mercer. Very good a year ago in the red zone. Lobbing toward Durden, nice. And he jumps up and pulls it in. A flag is thrown. He was in a jump ball situation with the corner, a mere trap, and let's see who's going to be called for pushing off right here, or the bump. And it'll go against Trapp, and Durden at 6'2", with the size advantage, to say the least, on the 5'8" Trapp.
Yeah, he just gets positions, just like a rebound in basketball. Gets inside position, does a fantastic job of seeing where the ball is. And Robert Riddle, they have that connection so far. They've done it all spring. They've done it all summer as far as trying to work on that chemistry. He knows where to throw the ball. Great job, points on the board.
Caleb Dowden with the extra point try for Durden, his 4th touchdown catch this season. And Riddle, as we noted, tied for the FCS lead in touchdown tosses coming in, now has 12 on the season. Mercer providing an answer. They cut the Furman lead in half here at Paladin Stadium. Back at Paladin Stadium, David Durden. He was a pro baseball player. He's playing football right there. He shows you can go up and get your rebound too.
Yeah, he might be a basketball player after this year, seeing plays like that. Great job, just a great confidence, being able to win his battle, and a great job by his quarterback putting the ball where only he could get it. Fantastic job by the Mercer offense, kind of finally putting points on the board, giving their defense a break, and also giving their defense a chance to kind of make some adjustments and see how they can slow down this Furman offense.
Devin Fulcher getting ready to kick it away. We talked at the top of the telecast, Jared, about how possessions are important. Each team has had the ball twice, and 3 of the 4 times we've had touchdowns to cap off drives. Devin Wynn began the game with an exciting kickoff return, albeit not for a whole lot of yards. That time he gets out across the 25.
Devin Wynn returns to the 26-yard line.
And again, you've got to value the ball, value those possessions in a game like this.
Yeah, games like this, you're not going to get the ball as many times as you normally get it. We talked to Coach Lamb. He said they would like to try to get into 80 plays, 90 plays per game. But against a Furman offense that runs the ball very effectively, you're not going to get that many opportunities.
Granger in that opening quarter threw for 89 yards, rushed for 25. Wynn trying to find some space, and quickly the Bears able to close in a hurry. Andrew Pettit was the first one to trip him up, and then Will Conaway finishing him off.
One thing about putting points on the board when you're on offense, it gives your defense some energy. It gives them some motivation. Say, hey, our offense just did a great job of giving us some points on the board. Let's do our job by slowing down and stopping the other team and get the ball back to them. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of high energy from this Mercer defense right now.
Something we've not seen for Furman so far is them getting off schedule. Play action, Granger, and nice turnaround catch heading out of bounds. Ryan DeLuca on the far sideline. And the junior out of Fort Mill, big yards there, and I said they were behind schedule with a 2nd and 9, and they quickly changed that.
DeLuca did a fantastic job kind of seeing where the ball was, winning his battle, keeping, getting 1 foot down, and also Granger, a great job by, look at the arm strength. I mean, putting the ball right where his guy can get it. Great job, and now they're at midfield.
23 yards on that connection. And we're going to see if DeLuca was able to get a foot down before going out of bounds. Great job to turn around, and looking back into a bright background by DeLuca. And a well-thrown pass by Granger.
And that comes from just practice and repetition with Granger all throughout the offseason, trying to make sure that they build that type of chemistry. As you see here, it looks like, he puts the ball right where he can get it, and I think that's a catch.
But did he possess it all the way? And I think that's the argument that is being made.
Yeah, I think that left leg was down, Pete. I think he had possession of it. Should be a 1st and 10.
So Darren Granger and company awaiting the word. Rob Johnson, you saw our referee in the game.
I'll tell you,
the ruling to the booth.
Granger looks like another number 4 that we saw, up here in upstate. He looks like he has that built, a young Deshaun Watson. What do you see that?
A lot of the same principles, and again, the thing that impresses you is that he's still kind of learning. He's been such a quick learner, and he's a very athletic guy. In fact, he was a very highly regarded basketball prospect. A lot of Division II schools were going after him, and Furman saw the football ability, and he opted to go to football. Granger now in his 2nd year with the Paladins. Saw some action last year, had to deal with the fact of just trying to learn a whole new level. But now in his third year as a quarterback and his second in the college game.
It's confirmed. First down.
And the play on the field is confirmed, so the connection of 23 yards from Granger to DeLuca will stand with the Paladins. First and 10, just shy of the 50-yard line. Shotgun look. Granger, will he tuck it and run? He will. He gets out of bounds in Mercer territory. Just inside the 45-yard line, the mark at the 44. And again, that dual threat ability. And the guy who wore number 4 at Clemson would do that quite a bit too.
Yeah, I mean, he's able to extend the play, but instead of trying to just run, he's looking downfield. That's the thing that makes him such a special guy at the quarterback position. He's not just trying to run the football, he's keeping his eyes down the field, trying to find that big play. That's what makes this Furman offense so challenging. I
think George Quarles, his quarterback coach and Furman's offensive coordinator, works with them a lot on that field vision. Here's Abrams. A physical option coming out of that backfield. He wears 32. The other Devin wears 22, but one's kind of Mr. Inside Abrams, the other's Mr. Outside.
Yeah, you kind of have to pick up the poison, like I said before, with this Furman offense. And the thing is, Pete, for those at home that are watching this game, you're seeing different formations and different plays from this Furman offense. And see, now you see them getting under center. That brings a whole new slew of plays. So this is a really challenging offense to try to slow down because you're almost guessing on what play they're going to run next.
Nothing doing for a win that time. Jack Rain surging in, the defensive lineman leading the way, and that'll go for lost yards.
Devin Wynn brought down in the backfield.
And Conaway, who a year ago was tied for 5th in the SoCon in tackles, their leader on defense, a senior for them, also in on that play.
Yeah, Conway just applied a lot of pressure, was able to get in the backfield, and almost one of the first negative plays we've seen from Furman so far this afternoon.
Mercer gave up 420 yards of total offense against Austin Peay in that 14-point loss last Saturday. Against the run, they've been pretty good over their first 3 games coming in today. Second in the league, just under 135 yards allowed on the ground per game. And Granger with pressure coming, gonna float it downfield. Oh! Gordon almost ran underneath it like a center fielder going back on a pop fly.
Wow. that was almost a Sports Center top 10 play right there, Pete. I mean, he was able to, you see the strength, and he just lost vision of where the ball was, but you see the strength from Granger right there, being able to keep his eyes downfield, getting tackled by one of the big fellas, but still was able to put the ball in a position for his guy to catch it. Great
Eric
job.
Jackson, the safety for Mercer, you could tell by his body language, he was the most stunned guy on the field that Gordon had any chance at all to pull that in. 3rd down and 12. First 3rd down and long for the Paladins. Wide open near sideline, and taking it in is Ryan Miller, the tight end.
Touchdown, Paladins!
Miller's second TD grab of the season. The Paladins about to build their lead back out to 14 with the extra point coming.
Granger did a great job of being able to kind of put that ball on the rope just for his guy to get it. I mean, he was able to step up in the pocket and felt the pressure on the outside. Great job by stepping up into the pocket and delivering a good ball for his guy to catch. 7 points on, or 6 points on the board.
They tell us Miller has wide receiver speed, and you saw it right there as he was able to get behind the defense for Granger. That's a 6th touchdown toss so far this season. Grayson Atkins pretty much perfect when he lines up for the extra point try. Is a 21-7 Furman lead. Plenty of time to go before the half on the first day of fall at Paladin Stadium. Mercer Bears are back home next Saturday at 5-Star Stadium in Macon. The Campbell Fighting Camels out of the Big South they're in, then back to conference play for the Bears. This game's so important from a Mercer standpoint because they've got a chance to get to 2-0 in the SoCon with both wins coming away from home. And so the opportunity to do that is so rare in any conference. DeAndre Johnson and company hoping they can rally from this 14-point deficit once again. Little onside kick by Atkins, and the ball still loose. It looks like Furman's fallen on it. It appeared it traveled the necessary 10 yards before the Paladins made any contact with it. What a job by Grayson Atkins. Pretty much kept the ball in front of him like he was walking a putt into the cup.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic job. Great play call, I mean, from the special teams. And this is something that, you know, Coach Hendricks saw as an opportunity to take advantage of special teams. He said during the week that they're going to find different ways to try to get extra possessions. And right there, great job by the special teams unit of getting the ball back for their offense that's been on fire so far today.
Furman offense that has amassed 233 yards so far, and they will wait before they snap because we will see Bob Johnson, our referee, head over to the headphones. This will be reviewed up in the booth. And Atkins did a great job of not putting too much on it. The trouble is, did the ball make contact as he was running ahead before it went the required 10 yards? And this could be a very big review because the way Furman has been moving downfield, there are 3 drives in the 75 to 80 yard range. I mean, they have been seemingly unstoppable. That last scoring drive, 7 plays covering 75 yards, and that followed drives of 79 and 77 yards respectively.
Yeah, I mean, they've been pretty much unstoppable so far this first half, putting up 21 points. But like I said, they're beating you in all kinds of ways. They're throwing the ball deep. They have great mid-range passes. They're running the ball well. Granger's making plays with his feet, keeping his eyes down the field. So, you know, it's really – so now that knowing that the call stands and they get the ball back again in fantastic field position, wouldn't be surprised if they try to take a shot deep right here.
We saw that Mercer on that last defensive series try to get a little bit more aggressive, some more blitzing. Furman will figure that out as Granger connected to a wide open Miller on the near sideline. Now you have to wonder just how Mike Adams, the defensive coordinator for the Bears, plays it. And the inside handoff to a guy that expects to get some more playing time in the coming weeks, Dominic Roberto, the freshman out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, his first touch of the ball game. And will bring up 2nd down and 7 for Furman. Told you how close this series has been since it was renewed in 2014, but the Paladins looking to try to build a sizable lead and this time win. Let's see if he has enough for the first down. Will Conaway eventually brings them to the turf. Gets some help from Harrison Poole, and that is good for a first down.
That wasn't the smoothest transition as far as, or smoothest mesh, I should say, but he was very patient, was able to let his lineman get in place, find the right gap, find the right hole, and he hit it at the right time. But it looks like
Wynn looks like he remains down.
Yeah, but he was able to get the first down and keep the chains moving.
So with the injury timeout, gives us the opportunity to look ahead on Furman's schedule. We'll be right back here with our Ingles SoCon game of the week next Saturday, a big one against the Bucks of ETSU at 1 p.m. And then a road trip to Samford. Boy, seeing Samford and Chris Oladokin in that offense in his first year as their quarterback, they are going to be one tough out for everybody in this conference. I invite you to join us next Saturday at this same time, 1 p.m. on our network of stations or wherever you're tuned in for our Ingles SoCon game of the week, ETSU and Furman. When able to head over to the sideline. 1st and 10 for the Paladins at the 42. Granger firing long, man open, in and out of the hands and incomplete as he was trying to get it to Chase Abshire. Tough opportunity right there for a guy who hasn't had too many chances this year. That could have been a real big play for him.
You know, you gotta squeeze that one in if you're you know, if you're Furman on that one. But I tell you what, great job by Granger, kind of sitting in the pocket, letting his offensive lineman do a great job of protecting him. Saw his man wide open, and he made a pretty good throw.
Abshire getting behind Luke Ward that time. Second down option. A hole for Granger. First down yards. Eventually slung down to the turf by Jamar Hall, but again, there's that option. 5 offenses in one, as this was described to us by Bobby Lamb, the Mercer coach, about what Furman does to you when they've got the ball.
Yeah, and yes, like I said, we've been saying in all broadcasts, Pete, pick your poison with this Furman offense. You know, they can beat you running the football. They can beat you down the field with deep balls and deep explosive plays. But as you see here, Granger did a great job of reading the defense. He made the right read of keeping it himself and getting the first down.
And after making that tackle, it's Hall who's still down. We told you about this Paladin team with the back-to-back games. First Georgia State 2 weeks ago, a ball game they led for a pretty good portion and had a chance to win late, and then Virginia Tech last week. And Furman, one of just 4 teams in all of FCS this season to have back-to-back games against FBS teams. Murray State, Northern Colorado, and Gardner-Webb are the other 3. But Clay Hendricks talking this week about when you're playing programs that have 20, 25 more scholarship players available to them than you do, can that make you better? And he said, had we not been competitive, no, but the fact that we were in those games, had a chance to win both, he really thinks, despite 2 losses, was a huge boost of confidence for his ball club. And now they return to the FCS level, where they've won 5 straight and 7 of their past 8 against teams on their level.
Yeah, anytime you play against the FBS or the big boys, as we say sometimes in FCS, you kind of want to mark yourself against where you are, where do you stand. And Furman really had opportunity to win both of those games against Virginia Tech and Georgia State. So I think the 1-2 schedule, or the 1-2 record, you can't really judge this Furman team off of that. This team is a team that's going to make a lot of noise in the conference and a lot of noise in the FCS levels.
Abrams losing a yard on that first down carry. It's him lined up behind Granger, who will run the option, look to pitch, lost the handle, and eventually a scramble for it, and falling on it for the Bears and forcing the turnover, Eric Jackson. It appeared that Avery Armstrong had a chance to save that possession, but you talk about a Mercer defense that steps up huge just when they needed to, and they have come up with the game's first takeaway. 21-7 in the second quarter, Paladins.
Pete, this is the first time we've kind of seen Granger make a mistake. He's trying to do too much. He's trying to force the pitch when he's getting hit, and that's kind of one of those rookie mistakes that you see. But unfortunately, you know, hopefully it doesn't cost him too big with Mercer getting the ball back. But as you see there with an incomplete pass by Mercer, but they have an opportunity now to get the momentum back on their sideline and kind of get some points on the board before halftime.
Riddle trying to force the action that time, throwing incomplete toward Rob Lake. It's the 4th turnover by the Furman offense this season, and the 5th one forced by Mercer, which is trying to get better in that category this year. But after that onside kick following the Furman touchdown, gave the ball to the Paladins right there near midfield. A big statement by the defense. Riddle on the keeper and has first down yards close to the 35-yard line.
Yeah, we don't see him run the ball like that or have a lot of design runs. He's more of a, you know, throwing type quarterback, and they let their running backs do the running. But he's also a weapon, and as you see there, being able to get a first down and keep the chains moving. At this point, Coach Lamb wants to do whatever's possible to get points on the board and try to swing momentum back to his sideline before halftime.
Riddle came into the game averaging just under 3 yards a carry, and that's a real plus, because if you think of a passing quarterback, normally their rushing yards will be in the negative column because they take sacks, as Johnson is slung to the ground by Travis Blackshear on the dump off in the flat.
You're absolutely right. Great job by Blackshear right there, coming downhill quickly and making sure that you know, the ball carrier was on the ground, because a lot of times you see those type of plays, you know, a missed tackle and the ball goes for another 7 to 10 yards. So great job by Blackshear getting Mercer's offense to the ground.
Blackshear is 14th tackle on the season, a statement play. Big target Chase Westfall pulls that in, shy of the line to get for the first down, so it'll bring up 3rd down and 4, and a big 3rd down opportunity here so far on the afternoon. Bears are 2 out of 3 on 3rd downs. Brian Oakey and the Furman defense look to come up with a stop. Devison. And the physical style doesn't work that time. He is pushed down to the turf. Landon Lawrence, who had a big hit earlier in the game, brings up decision time for Bobby Lamb. It'll be 4th down, and we'll call it a long 2.
Not surprised by the decision to go for it right here, Pete. You're at a point in the game right now where the momentum is, you want to shift the momentum back to your team. And getting this 1st down and picking this up would be huge for the momentum, because you had a great turnover on defense. You want to try to capitalize with some kind of points.
Bears are 2 for 4 in 4th down tries, and the play action dump off to the tight end Westfall. Hard hit, loose ball, and let's see. I believe the Paladins have gotten it back. Adrian Hope coming away with a turnover after the great sell on the play action. But Westfall, his 2nd catch of the drive, ends up in Mercer, giving the ball back at the 15.
Westfall does a great job getting to the flats, getting open, but you gotta squeeze that, big fella. You gotta squeeze that. You gotta know that they're going to try to attack the ball when they come to tackle you. And unfortunately, he didn't keep the ball tight. He fumbled the ball on a crucial 4th down play and gets the ball back to Furman. And Furman, they definitely have time on the board to try to go down and score quickly before half.
Elijah McCoy on that strip, so just under 6 minutes to go before the break. McCoy and Hope, 2 of their defensive leaders, able to get the ball back for Granger in this Paladins offense. Option left that time instead of the pitch. Granger keeps, and look at him push the pile for the 1st down.
He's a lot stronger than he looks, Pete. He's able to be a very powerful runner when he decides to run the football. And there you see he kind of did a little fake pitch, but was able to kind of keep the ball and almost get a 1st down. Looks like he did get enough yards for the 1st down.
Logan Craig had credit for the tackle, but was one of those in a white jersey trying to stop and was almost being just kind of pushed along for the ride by Granger.
I think his helmet came off, Pete.
Yes, we're going to see the backup, Hamp Sisson. Limited duty so far this season. And, in these situations, I've got to think that you would think Paladins would just do something pretty basic as Sisson settles under center. And he'll hand to his tailback. And Granger will come back in.
Surprised he went under center. A lot of times, you don't get a lot of reps with the 1st-string center, and you want to kind of keep it in shotgun. But everything was pretty smooth as far as the transition, handoff, and Granger's back in the game.
Life of the backup quarterback. Sometimes the most popular guy on a roster, because when the 1st-string guy's not going well, everyone's calling for the backup, thinking he can be the savior.
Yeah.
But in that case, he had to be on high alert to get in there quickly. 2nd down, Granger, pressure comes, and man open, leaping ground, grabbed by DeLuca as he hits the turf near midfield.
Pete, this is the 2nd time we've seen this type of play. Granger is getting hit. Watch right here. He's getting hit by the defensive lineman, but at the same time, he has the strength to make the throw to the wide open guy. That's a fantastic job. It shows that strength that Granger has and the ability to keep his eyes down the field even as chaos is closing in on him.
Paladins began this drive back at the 15. Trying to march toward the end zone once again. Things closing in a hurry. Conaway emphatically coming away from that pile as Abrams picked up a couple.
It's really important that Furman continues to stay on schedule with this last, looks like could be the last possession. But you look at the total yards here, Furman's been in control from an offensive standpoint. 270 yards in the 1st half so far to Mercer's 124. They've really been able to do whatever they wanted to do.
How many times have we seen a wide open Furman receiver too? Granger's done a great job looking downfield, but the Paladins want to talk things over as they go ahead and call a timeout with 3:52 remaining here in the second quarter, up 21-7 and getting ready for a 2nd down and 8. And coming up at halftime on our Ingles SoCon Game of the Week, Ingles SoCon 60. We'll also let you know what's happening around the conference on this 4th weekend of play for most of the teams. And of course, highlights and stats from our opening half of action here at Paladin Stadium. The 18th all-time meeting between Furman and Mercer, and the 6th since the Bears came into the Southern Conference earlier in this decade. And as we've noted, a lot of close games played between these teams, could have gone either way. And really, Bobby Lamb, in building this Mercer program from scratch when he took the job back earlier this decade, you look at their past seasons and they've been a team that's hovered right around 500 both overall and in SoCon play, but they have had so many close games.
A lot of close games, and
there were close losses, as it turns out, and some close wins too. And
they feel that they have the ability this year to kind of take it to the next level and be a contender for a championship here in the conference.
Pitch to win. Knocked down on that far sideline, might have had enough to get the 1st down. Trying to recover and react in that play was Richie Coffey, the cornerback, but boy, Wynn was going downhill, and it is indeed a 1st down at the Mercer 39.
And Wynn did a fantastic job also, Pete, of falling forward. That's the key thing, falling forward, not running out of bounds. He lowered his shoulder, was able to fall forward, get the 1st down, keep the chains moving, and keep the Mercer defense on the field.
As you see, that timeout used moments ago by Furman was the first by either team here in the second quarter. Lobbing near sideline and incomplete, and good job that time by Harrison Pohl, who was step for step with the intended target, Zach Peterson.
Great coverage, great one-on-one coverage on the outside. He knew he was on an island, but he did a great job staying step for step with the receiver the entire time.
Furman scored on its first 3 possessions of this game and then got the ball in the onside kick at midfield, only to give it up on a turnover. Mercer was driving, but he fumbled it away on their last possession. 2nd down and 10 now. And Granger, a little bit of indecision. He was flanked by Watkins, and that'll be lost yards and bring up 3rd down and long.
Looks like miscommunication between him and the running back on whether it was going to be a toss play or an option play. But either way, it was a negative play for Furman's offense. Great job by Mercer's defense of being able to, get him on the ground and not allow a broken play to be something of success for Furman.
3rd down and 13. Paladins capitalizing in a 3rd and long earlier in this quarter. Granger with pressure coming. Conaway and others in pursuit, and Granger room on the far sideline. Out of bounds he goes near the 20. How about Darren Granger, able to extend the play and then turn it into something big?
All you can do is shake your head right here.
There is a flag down, though. And let's see, it's in the defensive secondary. It's where they toss that flag. And it is defensive holding. That'll be declined after the big scramble by Granger for the 1st down. Take another look.
Yeah, he's keeping his eyes downfield. I think he wanted to go where the hold was going, and that's why he had to pull the ball down and kind of use his feet. But you see the type of weapon he has with his feet. He has great touch on the ball when he throws it as well, Pete. So, I mean, this guy, he's really doing it all for this Furman offense. He's single-handedly either making the right passes or using his feet to get 1st downs. I mean, this Furman offense has all the momentum right now.
And as we heard Bob Johnson, our official, tell us, they'll tack 10 yards on to the end of the run. As a result of the infraction, that was a 21-yard pickup by Granger. He has had a solid day on the ground. Paladins getting close to 300 yards of total offense in this opening half of play. And they've got better than 2 minutes to go as they're inside the red zone of Mercer once again. The 1st down and 10. Granger again on the keep, tripped up, keeps his feet, caught from behind, eventually thrown down to the turf by Freeman.
He needs to protect that ball, Pete. You see here on the replay, he just has that ball kind of just out there like a loaf of bread. I mean, tuck that thing away, because that's not that's the kind of runs right there, having the ball out, where you're going to get it knocked out and get a turnover so close to knocking on the door for a touchdown. So they'll have that conversation with him when he gets to the sideline.
Hard to find, though, anything to really complain about with this first half performance by Darren Granger in this Furman offense. He got 6 on that carry. 2nd and 4. Abrams ahead of steam, and he'll be close to the first down.
Number 42, Dominic
Actually, that was Dominic Roberto. He and Abrams have a similar build. And from our vantage point at the angle. And that is a promising sign for Clay Hendricks in this Paladins offense. They've got that go-to as a backup to Abrams.
Yeah, and if you're Coach Lamb, you want to call a timeout. He wants to talk it over right now, because he knows that if he gives up a score this late in the second quarter and going down 28-7, it's going to make it very challenging for his offense and for his team in general in the second half.
First timeout used by Mercer, and Roberto coming up just shy of that marker, so it'll be 3rd down and 1. And maybe a promising point for this Mercer team is they did defer to the second half, so they will get the ball first in the third quarter. That is assuming Atkins doesn't pull out another onside kick.
I tell you, I wouldn't be surprised. We saw it on the other touchdown play, where you see Furman move an extra lineman to the other side and kind of have an overset or overload, and they run behind the extra line. So look for that coming out as they come out of this timeout.
Furman has gone over that 300 yards mark in this opening half of play, and a year ago against Mercer they managed 434 for the entire game. Under center with Roberto behind him, and punching on in, the freshman out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. A guy who looks well beyond his years and could be a replica for the fella he backs up, Devin Abrams. But Dominic Roberto, the touchdown for the Paladins, the 4th of this opening half they build on their lead.
Very simple play, real quick and easy. Just giving it to the big back, under center, running behind his pads, running with power, you know, getting the touchdown, getting points on the board before the halftime. That's what you want. Great way to finish off the drive. If you're Furman, if you're Mercer, you're scratching your head right now. You're trying to figure out, what do we do to slow this momentum down for Furman's offense right now.
But certainly could be tough. And again, a powerful presence at 5'11", 236, Roberto, a tough guy to deny in short yards, especially when he's got a chance to get across the goal line. His first career touchdown for the Furman Paladins. It's a 28-7 advantage with just over a minute to play before the half.
Great surge by the offensive line, the left side. They did a fantastic job kind of getting behind their pads, creating momentum, because when you have a big back, you don't have to get a lot of push, but you just have to create some kind of surge to allow, especially close on the goal line, create some type of surge from the offensive line perspective, so you give your back an opportunity to get those 1 or 2 yards he needs to be able to score.
Credit to that offensive line, and you, Jared, an All-American offensive lineman in your day at Wofford. You've got to be impressed with the fact that Furman offensive line, an experienced and talented group, and they have 4 team captains on the squad, and 2 of them coming from that offensive front. And of course, Clay Hendricks, an old offensive line coach in his own right. I know he's proud of his fellas up front.
Well, I talked to him about that over the past week. You know, how happy are you with your offensive line play? And he said himself, we have 8 guys that we kind of rotate in and out, and there's not a big drop off from their first string and their second string guys. When you have that kind of depth at the offensive line position, you can run the type of offense that they run, where it's smash mouth. Then they have guys that can pass block really well. You can kind of rotate guys and keep them fresh. You see that a lot on the defensive side of the ball, but they're able to do it on the offensive side of the ball, which I think has been key to their success.
Another ball through the end zone by Grayson Atkins, denying any type of return for a Mercer team that's been phenomenal in the return game so far this season. So Robert Riddle and the Bears have their work cut out for them, and no doubt they're going to try to get some points and cut into this now 21-point deficit, their biggest of the afternoon here before the half.
I wouldn't be surprised they just a couple more quick passes like that, just to kind of get out of the half, get into the locker room, to figure out how they can make some adjustments because they definitely need to figure out what to do on both offensively and defensively to try to have a chance of winning this game.
Boy, OK delivering with authority on the connection to Landon Miller. But a first down for the Bears after completion to Lake and then Miller. Here's Durden. He can do good work after he makes the catch. And now a timeout will be used with 37 seconds remaining. And that'll be the second one called by Bobby Lamb, who of course returns to his alma mater to once again go against the Furman Paladins. And you know, it's interesting the distinction we have in the head coaches today. Not only childhood friends, anyone who follows these teams knows the background of Clay Hendricks and Bobby Lamb. They grew up together in Commerce, Georgia, played high school ball for Lamb's dad, and then came to Furman, were here in the early 80s as players, and then were coaches together. The two head coaches in this game hold the very unique distinction of having both played in and coached in FCS national title games. And that's a really interesting credit, and the fact that they're really good friends kind of even adds to that aura. And as we continue today, we'll tell you about a very unique trophy that has been established as a result of them being head coaches at these two schools. Durden almost made a great grab. Good coverage over there by Amir Trepp.
You know, getting back to the relationship part of it, Pete, between Coach Lamb and Coach Hendrick, you're seeing that so much, especially nowadays in football with social media and just technology in general. A lot of friends coaching against each other, players playing against each other that are friends. But when it's time to strap it up, you know, we're no longer friends, we're foes. We're trying to beat each other down and get a victory.
Riddle gets the first down. He could see Drew Seabrook trailing him that whole play. Seabrook eventually makes the tackle. That'll stop the clock for a moment with 23 seconds to go. Bears at the very least trying to get into field goal range, and a nice grab going up and pulling it in by Miller, who took that pop earlier, but a big gain into Paladins territory. Again, clock stops, 13 seconds to go. Looks like Riddle's going to clock it right here, and he will, and that'll put 10 seconds on the second quarter clock. Nice connection that time of 21 yards to Miller, who really hadn't been a factor for them in their passing game. We've seen him come up big a couple of times in this series, so I would suppose you probably take a shot right here.
Probably, but the thing is, Furman's defense, they don't want to get beat, so they're putting all their guys deep in zone, and they're letting everything underneath them be open, and that's what Robert Riddle is seeing, and that's why he's getting a lot of these chunk plays. And you're seeing Furman's defense, they're able to come up and make the tackle. So right here, they may make a switch on the defensive side of the ball, but with 10 seconds left, they don't want to give up anything cheap. Wouldn't be surprised if you see something underneath.
Riddle indeed looking downfield, all kinds of time, fires toward the middle, intercepted. Pickoff made by the safety Brian OK. That's his first pick of the season, just the second for the Paladins defense. There is a flag on the play. Now keep in mind, if it's against the Paladins, then we'll get one more play of this opening half. 2 turnovers now if that interception stands by Mercer in half number 1. But let's see from Bob Johnson. So you can wave away that interception, and they're going to send out Caleb Dowden, the Mercer place kicker, who's 3 out of 3 on field goal tries here in the early going of 2019. But his longest of 27 yards, that came last week against Austin Peay, and this will be considerably longer. 35-yard try for the redshirt freshman out of Statesboro, Georgia. Harrison Frost, the holder for this Mercer team, has the distance, and it's good. So the Bears not able to answer that Furman score with a touchdown, but at least get points on the board courtesy of that roughing the passer by the Paladins defense. And that penalty at least gives Mercer something to feel good about heading into the halftime locker room. At the break, 28-10 Furman here in Greenville. Stadium in Greenville, South Carolina, where the Furman Paladins enjoy a 28-10 lead on Mercer. A whole lot of Darren Granger in that Furman offense in the opening half, Jared.
Yeah, they've done a fantastic job. Darren Granger has really done whatever he wants to do. Running the ball, throwing the ball, offensive line doing a great job creating openings for the run game. It's been very impressive first half for the Furman offense and the Furman defense, keeping a high-powered Mercer offense to only 10 points.
In that opening half of play, Granger combining for roughly 230 yards of total offense. The redshirt freshman making some good decisions, finding receivers wide open, like that touchdown connection to Ryan Miller, and the Paladins taking advantage of a key Mercer turnover. You see the defensive line coach for the Bears going down celebrating a turnover they forced, and Jeremy Hawkins, we're told, may have torn his ACL, so put him on the injury list. But a first career touchdown for fullback Dominic Roberto, part of a 300 yards plus first half. Paladins on pace for their first 600-yard game in 2 years.
One of the big things I see right here, Pete, third down conversions. Furman's 5 for 5, and they're winning that time of possession, which is key. We know that they're going to keep the ball. They're going to make the most when they have the ball. So Mercer really has their work cut out for them in the second half.
We'll see if that late score just before the half by the Bears gives them momentum. They'll get the ball first in the third quarter. We'll have that for you when we come back on our Ingles SoCon Game of the Week. With Jared Singleton, Pete Hannity with you back at Paladin Stadium. Grayson Atkins ready to kick it away for the Furman Paladins to start out a second half. They have an 18-point advantage going for their third consecutive win in this series. Atkins among the best in the nation and getting touchbacks on his kicks against one of the top return teams and one of the top return men in David Durden, who watches the ball sail over his head. And it'll be a touchback, so Mercer will start out at their own 25 on the only penalty so far in the game by Furman, the roughing the passer that created a free play for Mercer. The Bears were able to at least get points, a field goal going into the break. Looks a little bit better when you're down by 18 instead of 21.
Yeah, and you know we're talking about an offense that is one of the top offenses in the Southern Conference. They put up points, they put up a lot of yards. Hopefully they made some adjustments during halftime to come out here in the second half and kind of get the momentum back on their side.
Devison active in that opening half, and he's taken down from behind by Blackshear, but not before he gets out across the 30.
You know, one thing that Coach Hendrick talked about earlier this week was he wanted to make sure that they made Mercer's offense one-dimensional. They didn't want to give Mercer's offense opportunities to be successful with all of their weapons. They wanted to kind of make them one-dimensional, whether it's, if you're going to run the ball, you're going to run the ball, but you're not going to run and pass. If you're going to pass the ball, you're going to pass the ball, but you're not going to be able to run the ball on us as well. So they've done a great job in the first half. Hopefully they can carry that over to the second half from a defensive standpoint.
How about Riddle showing a little option principle to Marcus Clay, the junior out of Atlanta, with the stop to bring up a third down and short.
Yeah, third and short, but it's going to be crucial they get this first down because you don't want to, you know, punt the ball back to an offense that's been very high powered so far in this game.
Limited just 10 points in that opening half, averaging nearly 43 a game. Mercer coming in, leading the SoCon, and Riddle hit hard on the end of that scamper ahead for the first down. And jumping in, making the stop, Braden Gilby, the SoCon Defensive Player of the Week, after 12 tackles at Virginia Tech, and he was able to take over that starting middle linebacker job going into that game. Firing downfield for Durden. Ooh. And knocked away at the last moment. Nice job on the coverage by Amir Trapp. He and Durden have been going toe-to-toe throughout the contest. That battle chalked up to the Furman defensive back.
And Amir did a great job. Even though he gave up position, he stuck with it. He was able to get his hand in there and keep fighting and get the ball out. Great job by Amir and the Furman defense.
David Durden, sure-handed as anyone in the league, and again has the size advantage. He's 6'2", and Trapp is 5'8", so second down and 10. And Devison, and he pushes ahead. And again, one of those guys who will rarely lose yards on a carry, because once he gets a couple of steps of momentum, he just is so physical and just so compact, it's just hard to push him back.
And not only that, he's so patient when he runs the ball. He runs the ball with patience behind his pass. He allows his offensive lineman to be able to get in position, and he makes the right choice when he decides to go into a certain hole.
5'8" and 233 pounds. Devizin kept in to block. Riddle, pressure comes, gets away from the would-be sack. Now trying to extend the play, and he stood up and wrestled out of bounds, shy of the first down yards. Jordan Willis for the Paladins, one of their leaders on defense and their leading tackler coming in, able to force Mercer into a punting situation.
I mean, Riddle, he did everything he could. He was looking downfield, didn't see anything, had to kind of just tuck the ball and get out of bounds. And unfortunately, they didn't get the first down coming out of halftime. But, you know, if you're Furman's defense, take your hat off to them. They've done a great job of kind of containing this very high-octane Mercer offense. So getting the ball back to their offense, which has been fantastic so far in this game.
Grant Gopel. Furman backs off, a mere trap, calling for the fair catch. And he makes it at his own 12-yard line. Paladins get the ball back, an 18-point advantage on their home field in their SoCon opener against Mercer. A proud football tradition here at Furman with that 1988 national title and a couple of runners up over the years on the FCS level. It's Hall of Fame weekend, and the football entrant on the left, Robbie Caldwell, who folks around the upstate of South Carolina have become quite familiar with in his years working as Clemson's offensive line coach, but he was a great player here in the 70s and great assistant. In fact, Dabo Sweeney, lower right of the screen, at his team meeting last night as he was getting his team ready for their game today, talked about the fact that last evening they had a wonderful ceremony in downtown Greenville enshrining Robbie Caldwell into the Furman Athletics Hall of Fame, and also a former great soccer player for the Paladins, Matt Goldsmith. Here is a breakthrough, and on his way to the house, Devin Abrams caught from behind, though. It looked like he was going to break away, but Richie Coffey saves the would-be touchdown. Still a burst of speed out of the big fella Abrams.
Burst of speed, a big power, great job by the offensive line creating an opening, and he did what running backs do best. He ran the football. Wish he had a little more speed. He probably would have made a house call, but great job for Furman's offense coming out in the second half and picking up where they left off, Pete.
69 yards for Abrams on that carry. He had 72 for the entire game last week up at Virginia Tech inside of the Mercer red zone. And here is Wynn. Finally pulled down from behind, but not before he gets another first down to the 5. Furman running game, they look like a team that with that option look could just keep it on the ground and not even put it in the air, and they'd be successful.
You're absolutely right, Pete. They've done a fantastic job with being able to get those big guys up front. You know, doing a great job of getting to their assignments, making sure they're creating openings for their backs, whether it's up the gut or whether it's on the perimeter. Great job, and you know what? That keeps Dan Granger, that keeps him upright. It keeps him from not taking a lot of those hits.
Paladins have outrushed Mercer 214 to 77 so far. First and goal. And the fullback, Roberto, who scored his first career touchdown in that second quarter. And will bring up second down and goal.
Gain of 3, second and goal at the 4.
Paladins have shown some power running. In the case of Abrams' sprint of nearly 70 yards moments ago, that was simply the case of a running back getting to the second level, and Furman reading that was the weak spot right there in the middle of the defense.
Yeah, and you see the adjustments right here. They shifted the offensive line to the left side, bringing an extra guy over.
Granger,
decoy, he looks like.
Looking toward the end zone. Now he'll try to scamper in there, and he does. A redshirt freshman quarterback from Conway adding to the Furman lead. He's got his 4th rushing touchdown of the season. Darren Granger looked like he was trying to simply find an open man in the end zone, but what a great job not only extending the play, but again turning it into something positive and not just having to throw the ball away.
Yeah, and you know, he had a guy come open late, but by that time he'd already made the decision that he's gonna plow this one in with his feet, and he did a great job by doing that and adding to this lead that Furman has so far.
Grayson Atkins adding the extra point. And the Paladins extend their lead out to 35-10 here in the third quarter, trying for a 1-0 SoCon start. They appear on their way to that. Well, the climb becomes a little bit more for the Mercer Bears. DeAndre Johnson and company now trailing 35-10. Other action around the SoCon today. Up in Lexington, Virginia, BMI trailing visiting Robert Morris after they got a big win last week. Other action coming later today, including that Wofford game. Jared and Eric Breitenstein, one of your former teammates, will be honored tonight.
Yeah, Eric's getting his jersey retired, number 7. Great guy, one of the classiest young men. And I was very honored and fortunate to be a part of that. A lot of that success, me and some 4 other great offensive linemen opened up a lot of holes. But Eric, just a great guy. And
David Durden on the return, tripped up by Brian Oakey.
Jersey retired.
Brian Oakey with the stop as David Durden, who began the day 2nd in the FCS in kickoff return yards average, gets it out just shy of the 20. So good job by the Paladins of coverage. Really all around, you're impressed with what you've seen out of Furman in this game to this point.
I mean, they've done it all, Pete. Offensively, defensively. Don't forget in the first half we saw that little trick play from the special teams unit. They've done it all. They've played a very complete game.
Riddle firing near sideline, but a little bit too strong. It'll be 2nd down.
Intended for number 80, Tucker Cannon, incomplete.
Tucker Cannon, the intended target that time. You can see Riddle put too much on it. And a Mercer team that came in, we noted, leading the conference, scoring nearly 43 points a game. They've scored no fewer than 34 points in any of the first 3 games. But again, give credit on the defensive side to what Dwayne Vaughn and his Furman defense have been able to do to keep them off rhythm. And once again, pressure coming. And that time Riddle forced to throw it away as Drew Seabrook was right there chasing him.
You know, Pete, a lot of times with great offense, they need time to kind of get in rhythm. You know, and they just haven't had the possessions to really kind of get into that rhythm and stay on script. So, you know, let's give a lot of credit to this Furman defense by doing a good job, and also the Furman offense by keeping the ball in their possession whenever they did have the ball.
Mercer 4 for 7 on 3rd downs, intended for Cannon, knocked down and nearly intercepted. Boy, that looked like it was going to go right into the hands of Daewon Wilkins, the redshirt freshman out of Spring Hope, North Carolina.
That's why he plays defense, Pete. They always say skilled players play defense or guys that can't catch. And you know, right there he had a great opportunity to you know, kind of get an interception and put the ball back in great field position for Furman's offense, but wasn't able to pull that one in.
Grant Gopel backed up to his 5. Trap back deep for the Furman team. Wobbler, not a deep kick, but it does take a Mercer bounce. Trap will try to return, and quickly the Bears on him, but good field position to start their next drive for the Paladins, just inside their own 45-yard line. Furman rolling here at Paladin Stadium, 35-10 as our 3rd quarter continues. They have had plenty to get the fans fired up with, both from the stands and what they've seen on the field so far, as our 3rd quarter continues here at Paladin Stadium. Furman the big lead, and again a hole over the middle, this time for Devin Wynn. Only the umpire was able to slow him up, and he's able to bust into Bears territory. Gets the 1st down to the 37. And without an umpire there, he probably might bust it and go all the way to the end zone. But boy, Wynn impressive so far. And again, everyone's seemingly running downhill as that carry by the Furman running back sets him up 1st and 10 at the Mercer 36, 20 yards. And Wynn getting close to a 100-yard afternoon. He had 3 of those a year ago and opened this season with 131 against Charleston Southern. Here's a handoff to Abrams. Ball is loose, but falling on it is Wynn. Right place, right time.
I tell you, this Furman offense, it's been their day. You haven't seen a lot of negative plays, but in this particular play, it just kind of shows you the type of day they've had. The ball just seems to be bouncing their way offensively. It's the interesting part about it all, Pete, I haven't seen any real weaknesses from this Furman offense. I mean, the only negative plays they've had are plays that they've caused as far as maybe a bad read or maybe a bad pitch that should not have been. But other than that, they've been pretty balanced and overall really good.
And you see the fumble that time recovered by Furman as Granger off play action fires long, looking for the tight end Miller, but a little bit too strong. And how different might things look on the scoreboard right now if the tight end for Mercer, Chase Westfall, hadn't fumbled the ball at the 15-yard line when it looked like the Bears were going to be able to drive in, get a little bit closer to the Paladins, and that might have completely changed the momentum in this contest.
Definitely that. But I tell you, right now, Mercer's defense, they look to be just guessing, because they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know whether the ball is going to be coming at them via running back, via quarterback, or with the deep ball. And you're seeing different formations. As you see here, a shift. They bring an extra guy over to the right side. That causes a lot of different issues, and especially if you don't have a lot of experience playing against something like that.
Paladins 5 out of 5 on third downs today, and Granger's going to get another one. So dangerous when he runs that option, especially when he decides to tuck the football and hang on to it.
He's a smooth runner too, Pete. He looks like when he runs the ball, he has confidence, he has great vision, and he has patience. And we've talked about that a lot with Devizin as far as running with patience. But you've seen that with Granger as well, being able to allow his lineman to get in position and get a hat on the hat, and then he's able to find, with that great vision, able to find the right hole and get positive yards.
7th possession of the ball game for the Paladins. They have scored on 5 of them so far. Granger again looking to throw. Pressure comes, and he's taken down. Good job getting in there by Sidney Otiwu. We saw him go down with an injury earlier in the game. He's slow to get up this time, but the junior out of Buford, Georgia, big play and backs the Paladins all the way to the 38-yard line. And Otiwu able to get off under his own strength, but favoring his right side.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor at all, but I think that might be a shoulder of some sort.
And an official timeout is called. Otiwu coming up with his first sack of the season, and the Bears coming into this game, they had not done a good job getting after the opposing quarterback, just 3. And also another Mercer player being assisted off the field. I believe that's DJ McDaniel, one of their defensive linemen. Robert Riddle and the offense of the Bears, tough to contain for Clay Hendricks and Furman so far, but when you've got targets like Tucker Cannon and also David Durden to throw to, and so far in the ball game, you have significantly limited what the Bears have been able to do in the passing game, holding them to just 109 yards so far. Says a lot for this Furman team.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give credit to, guys like Amari Trapp and guys like Travis Blackshear. They've done a great job on the back end of Furman's defense of kind of slowing down and shutting down, that very high-powered Mercer offense with the weapons that they have. So great job out of Furman's defense in the secondary.
Also 14 yards on that sack, and not a whole lot happening for Wynn. It'll bring up third down and long.
Tackle made by Michael Freeman.
And that sack was really one of the few plays that we've seen as a negative play, for Darian Granger, this afternoon. And that's something that they're going to work on, going forward. He's still a young guy. It's still early in the season, and he won't make those type of decisions on taking a sack. He'll get the ball out, throw it away, because he has the arm strength to be able to throw the ball to the sideline.
Granger converting that third down moments ago to make his team a perfect 6 out of 6 in that category. Throwing this time and able to find his receiver. Let's see if Armstrong will be marked down beyond the 25-yard line. He will at the 24. So it'll bring up a 4th down. And when you've got one of the best place kickers in the country, you can run Grayson Atkins out there. He's hit from as far away as 53 yards in his career. Atkins, an attempt of just inside of 42 yards for the righty out of Inman, South Carolina, on the way, and it's good, and the Paladins able to add to their lead. Grayson Atkins now 3 out of 3 on the season, on field goal tries. So nice to welcome in Jason Donnelly, the new athletic director here at Furman, roughly 2 months on the job. In late July, they named you to the post. You'd been at Villanova, first on the great Jay Wright staff in basketball, and a pretty good program to be involved with from a hoop standpoint. Then you moved into administration. So, Jason, tell me about it and how it's gone for you so far, adjusting to your new role.
Oh, it's been awesome. What do you think about this game today, first of all?
Impressive stuff. And Clay Hendricks, what great credit in his third year. You can see that he's got the this thing back in the right direction. On Hall of Fame weekend, his head coach, Dick Sheridan, who he played for, and then a fella he played under and also worked under, Bobby Johnson here. They've got to be proud of what they've seen.
Yeah, we had a Hall of Fame dinner last night. I told him I was tickled pink to meet Coach Sheridan, to meet Coach Johnson. Sam Weich was in the house. I mean, for me, growing up in a football family, just learning all about it, it was an unbelievable experience. And Robbie Caldwell couldn't have been more classy. The teammates that were there, the amount of people that were part of that evening last night was very special. And obviously coming into this, it's amazing. Being here less than a month. Actually, we've been here for I think August 12th was my first day, but it's been phenomenal.
You come to a program now that has some of the similar tenets that Villanova did. They're an FCS football program, so is Furman. Furman's basketball really has come up in the ranks. I don't need to tell you that. You were up there in Villanova, Pennsylvania last November when the Paladins shocked the world. And
now, did you make that trip?
I was not, but I was monitoring the game from afar for my other job. And boy, Bob Ritchie and crew noted that, they just took it easy on that trip. They didn't do a shoot-around when they got in on that Friday. And lo and behold. But anyway, so you come to a program, a lot of good things going on. And obviously, as an athletic administrator, you're more than just a basketball guy. So maybe some of the aims and some of the missions you have for this program.
Yeah, this is a tremendous opportunity for us in terms of what we're trying to do for Furman Athletics from a bigger picture standpoint. And that I'm coming into a program, to me, in a lot of ways, reminds me of a lot of Villanova. We had a classy base in terms of all the sports were. We had a 24-sport profile. Here we have a 20-sport profile. But the greatest asset we have right now coming in, to be honest with you, is our head coaches and our student athletes. That we've got All-Americans, we've got Hall of Famers, you've got professional athletes, Olympians, and Bob Ritchie. You've got a phenomenal base. Clay Hendricks is as good as it gets at this level in terms of everything they do. So for me, coming in as an administrator, the first thing we're going to focus on here is the growth and the brand of what we're going to do with Furman Athletics. And basketball, it's funny that you mentioned the game at Villanova, where I was a part of that last year. It feels like everyone around Furman that I meet brings that up in terms of what that was. But that was a great taste for me to get to know Bob and to get to know about the Furman brand and to get to know about Furman basketball in terms of everything that they were doing. But Bob's class and Bob's composure and Bob's ability to work his way through that game, I've even explained to his team, I don't even know if they understand how big a win that was. In the 15 years I was at Villanova, on the fingers of my hand, I can count the games that we lost in that building. So it was an impressive victory. But in my mind, what we're trying to do here for Furman is we're trying to take a great product, we're trying to take a great fan base that we have to date, and we're trying to make it bigger, and we're trying to grow our brand in a lot of different ways. And part of that's going to be the work with this football program, which has always been strong and has always been a strong point for Furman University to continue to support this program and get behind it and grow in Clay's vision. Clay is the perfect coach to be a part of this in terms of the way that he practices and the things that he believes. And to have a great partner on the other side of the ball in Bob Ritchie and also in Jackie Carson with our women's basketball team.
Sure.
Football is a point of emphasis, and then basketball is going to be the big-time point of emphasis. A couple things we're going to be doing. We're going to be playing some games downtown. This is something that's going to be new for Greenville.
That's huge. In the well downtown.
In the well downtown.
And that's a big step for the basketball program. By the way, as we saw it down below, it looks like a review for maybe trying to evaluate if there was a flagrant that'll be called on the field. But that's a big step, because when they built that arena in the late 90s, I think the vision was always, and they did some tournaments early on there in which Furman was involved, but the vision was you can get Furman basketball big enough, and in a 15,000 seat arena, know that you're going to fill it maybe 2/3 full. That would be a huge step.
Yeah, this is, for us, it's a great opportunity, because it's, Furman got a taste of what it's like to play big time basketball last year with Bob's team beating Villanova and having the wins that it did along the way against Loyola. And then being in the top 25, the brand recognition for your department when you have one sport such as basketball benefits all of us. So if it benefits our basketball program, our football program, our baseball, tennis, everything along the way to be on that national scale. And what we're trying to do with this opportunity downtown is we want to take Furman from here, we want to bring it into Greenville to beat Greenville's team. So part of that is going to be weekends at the well and an opportunity to grow our fan base. It's one of those cyclical things. We did the same thing at Villanova where played in a 6,500 seat arena on campus that was perfect. You know, we would play there. We had a great home court advantage. We had a great fan base. We never sold a ticket to the game because it was always sold out. But we were able to flex and go downtown to the Wells Fargo Center where the 76ers play and play in front of 20,000 fans. So we were able to grow our brand and our fans, and people, alumni would fly in from all around the country, similar to how they did today. You know, you've got families here that are coming from California and from Florida, all across the country. So that's the same type of thing we want to do with our basketball program.
And the conference that you were in when you were an assistant coach, and then obviously as administrator, you know, you look at the early days of the Big East and how did they formulate that. And granted, they had major media markets in the Northeast, but just about everybody had a downtown arena they played in. St. John's had Lapchick on campus, but they played in the Garden. Villanova originally had the Spectrum, and then the new building, and so on down the line. Georgetown would go play, of course, at the arena in D.C., and they continue to do so. So, and so on. So that's a big step. And as the Southern Conference coming off, as you well know, having seen a team come into your place last year, Villanova, but there were 3 other teams that could beat anybody at any time. This league does have a great opportunity, a new commissioner who wants to, of course, seize on that momentum for men's basketball, but other sports. But I would think you'll be a very positive and important voice in the continued growth of at least basketball in this league, as well as the other sports.
Yeah, and there's a part of it. Part of it's academic, you know, within your own institution. You know, to work with your president, to work with your board and your leadership, to get them to understand the impact of what our athletic department can be. And we're very fortunate here to begin with that our president, Elizabeth Davis, gets that, and she wants the brand and all the pieces that go along with this to fit the direction the university's heading, and that's we're going in that way. The second part is I look at Jim Shaw, he's sitting right next to us. You know, he's here for this game today, that he wants to broaden the vision of what it would be, not just only in football, but also with our basketball product. And you referenced that, the cities that are a part of that, and you referenced Philadelphia and New York, and you could talk about Providence and all these great downtown arenas that are part of that Big East brand. We've got a growing city right here, you know, 10 minutes down the road in Greenville that we can tap into and be a part of. So part of what we're looking to do from a Furman perspective, we want to be Greenville's team. And you know, there's Clemson's in our backyard. We get that. That's a big animal. That's a hard one to tame. But we're not going after that brand. We're going to go after Furman fans. We're going to go after Greenville. Greenville's become our largest alumni city for Furman alumni. So it's just recently eclipsed Atlanta and Charlotte to be #1. So we want to bring as many people that we can to be a part of this product, and we've got to think about creatively how to do that, not just with basketball, but how to do that with basketball. Our baseball team is already playing downtown at Fluor Field. And if you look at the glory years when you go back in Furman athletics,
in the brown box,
and that's the whole thing. Is that the magic is there, and it was done before. And you know, when you hear everybody talk about playing downtown with football and playing downtown with basketball and baseball and what that was, we want to recreate a lot of that energy and infuse it back into our athletic programs.
Turned out to be just a face mask on the defense, and trying to get that ball away, but hit to the turf. Riddle on the incomplete pass. We visit with Jason Donnelly, the new athletic director at Furman. And I know the city of Greenville appreciates more involvement for Furman, because again, I always think the mission when that arena replaced the brown box in 1998, the goal was always, what can Furman bring to the table? And I always thought a program like a Furman, if you get it up and running, you can do a 2-for-1 with a Kansas, because they can fly right into a major airport. You can do, you know, get some really interesting, or, you know, another team in Oklahoma might come from the Big 12, or maybe someone from the Big 10 comes down, and you can do that and give yourself an opportunity in front of the home fans. The Paladins force another turnover and doing a nice job defensively in the second half to Marcus Clay, his first pick of the year. Furman coming up with another interception. And the second one, this is going to be the first one that counts, because O'Kay's was waved off before the half. And well, a big day of momentum continues for Furman.
And I love this. I'm looking down on the field right now. And this is our culture, and this is why I love this football program, is that interception, this defense, as tough as they played against Virginia Tech last week, and to have this type of moment for them, defensive coordinator chasing after him, wearing the crown. I mean, there's something about this football program that I can't explain. I was at the first practice that they had when I first got the job, and to listen to Clay's words and to listen to the team and to watch them work, the discipline that they have on every drill and everything they go through, the attention to detail and what they wear and how they eat and everything they do on the way. Looking through Darren's growth, she's developed from last year. The type of player I know it's RBU, that's running back Q, but to have a quarterback with that kind of stature in this offensive line and protects him that way, it's really impressive. But we're excited. This is a great challenge, a great opportunity for this institution, and from a growth perspective, I think that all the key features are there for that, and Greenville is the most important part of what we're looking to do. Specific to your point around the basketball, one of the opportunities to get teams here is what you just experienced recently at the NCAA tournament when you had South Carolina and Duke playing here.
Yeah.
Is that teams that want to get here back to Greenville in advance of 2022, and they want to play in this court, and they want to have that experience. I know for a fact, from having done the scheduling at Villanova would not play in Timmins, but they may play you in the Well.
Yeah.
So they may play you in an arena that is going to hold more and be in the center of Greenville and be a part of that. So we're fortunate that Bob has the vision for what this can be and where we're going to go.
Rolly Massimino in the late 80s actually brought a team down here. Played him in the brown box.
I heard.
They had Michigan State and Villanova visit within the span of about 2 or 3 years when Butch Essie's coaching and some good teams. The move down here, obviously, you were looking to grow in your career. I understand maybe your wife has a tie to the Carolinas. That also is part of what made this enticing?
Yeah, this Furman is, for me, is from a position and opportunity, just institutionally fits everything that I believe in from a mission, vision, and value standpoint. So institutionally, it's been perfect. The type of football, the type of basketball, the type of brand that we have athletically, the type of academic institution. But for me, where I really won the most points, we were very patient in the process leaving Villanova because we had a great opportunity there to advance and do everything we wanted to do. But my wife is from Western North Carolina. She is from Bakersville, North Carolina. Her grandmother's probably watching this game right now. She watches every athletic contest from the Atlanta Braves North. And so she's
had a good weekend.
Yes,
with them wrapping it up last night. Yeah,
she loves her Braves. But it's but for me to be able to get my wife Rachel and our 3 children back here who are 9, 7, and 3, and be able to raise them here in Greenville and be 2 hours door to door from her family in North Carolina was really the ultimate thing from a family standpoint.
And whenever we can score most favored husband points, we're always trying for that. Yeah. And thinking about the football thing, you got to Villanova as a coach in the middle of last decade. So Furman and Villanova played some football. Yes. You might have seen a Furman team come up there, I believe, while Bobby Lamb was coaching.
Yes.
That pass intended for Gordon, a little bit wide.
Yeah, it's actually something I've in a funny way I've said it to Clay. I said selfishly, I'd love to see Villanova and Furman play because the brand of both programs is very comparable in terms of the things that are emphasized, the type of alumni, the type of coaches. Andy Talley was an institution at Villanova, was there for 30-plus years. Mark Ferrante took over, who was the offensive coordinator. Very similar to Clay in terms of background, both alumni in terms of being a part of the programs. And in my mind, I'd love to see a Furman-Villanova contest. So we're working on a home-and-home down the road. I don't know if that's going to happen or come to fruition just based on distance and based on the limited opportunities we have to put that together. But I would love to see these guys match up in the playoffs because it's a great rivalry that we can have in terms of academic institutions and in terms of where we're from. But if that does happen, I'm definitely all purple. So I'm all in on the Paladins.
Almost a great catch by Wynn and a flag in the play. People think that Westbrook is the most famous football alum from Villanova. People may not know Howie Long was a great star there. In fact, his last season playing at Villanova, I think it was the last year before they dropped football for 4 years in the 80s, and then they brought it back. And they've really been a nice FCS program since then. And in that part of the country, you've got all kinds of opportunities to get kids.
Yeah, in a similar way to Furman, Villanova won a national championship in football going back to, I think, 2008, 2009. And they've had similar success that Furman has. I think institutionally, both have had a broad range of success. Howie Long is the most decorated alumni. He was also a great donor, giving back to the football program. He set a great example, similar to many Furman alumni here. Brian Westbrook had a great career there. And actually right down in Atlanta, not far from here, Brian Finneran, who's also works in TV and production now, but was a former Atlanta Falcon wide receiver, was another great receiver for them. So, again, a lot of crossover in terms of comparisons, in terms of great players, great alumni, and great support from people that come back to support the team.
Looks like a flag against the Paladins on that cannon return. Any first 6 months kind of mission statement for you in addition to the things we talked about? Because you inherit a program. Men's basketball did a great job last year. The women's basketball program, you mentioned Jackie and the job she did. They were a bounce or two away from winning a SoCon tournament title themselves. But some of the things maybe you've talked to with all your coaches you've now come down here to work with.
Yeah, it's been great. So I've been here for about a month. So I'm probably in my 5th week here on campus in terms of things we've done. And everything that we were looking to do in the first month, which was really based around just getting to know all the people that are here. So I've been very active and aggressive. I've had individual meetings with all of our teams, all of our coaches, all of our departments, all of our student athletes. To me, the most important thing was to come in to learn the culture, to understand Furman University, to understand Furman athletics. I've also been very outbound and external to a lot of alumni and donor events throughout the area and up in different places. So it's been great. really the growth is going to come over time. You know, Mike Buddy did a really nice job with this department in terms of getting it where it is, and we've got strong leadership. But we've got to attack our fiscal responsibilities in a different way in terms of the growth of what we're going to do. But the long-term picture here for Furman is going to build the brand of the athletic department so that we can promote our basketball, our football, our tennis, our baseball, softball, everything that we do here at a larger way. And a big piece of this is also going to be our alumni and fan support and donor support in terms of growth. So our team right now is aggressively looking at every project that we need to focus on, whatever it would be, whether it's a new arena, whether that's new fields, or whatever it would be around the way. But just to continue to grow the brand. And what I'm trying to do with our public is just what I see right here. And I think we can do some wonderful things across the board, and we've been fortunate to have great success. We would like to take that to the next level, both academically and also athletically.
Visiting with Jason Donnelly, the new Furman athletic director. One of the keys in this game for Furman's defense, they've pretty much taken David Durden, one of the top receivers in this league, out of the game plan. That was just his 4th catch. Now the penalty adds some yards as Riddle and company trying to at least get a little bit closer here late in the 3rd quarter. And he will fire over the middle, and coming up with a pick. Looks like that one's going to count as the senior safety, Brian Okey, forcing another turnover. One of the knocks against Riddle in the early going. He has had a propensity to throw the interception. 2 pick sixes last week, and now a second interception by the Furman D here in the 3rd quarter. Great flag on the end of the play. An important point, do you have anyone on retainer back in Philadelphia to occasionally ship you down either a Geno's, a Jim's, or a Pat's? I thought Jim's was underrated, the one right there near Independence Mall. Yeah. Because they put the marinara sauce on their cheesesteaks. The other ones didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm actually, you know, the question's always Pat's and Geno's. It's a South Philly thing, and I'm a big Pat's guy. Late night, middle of the night, if we would win a big game at Wells Fargo Center, you should pop by there on the way. Actually, I've got to go home tonight. We're selling our home, and I've got to go home and get the stuff out of my garage that I still don't have. So I'm actually catching a flight this evening and heading back to Philadelphia with my son. And we've got to pick up the remainder of our items. So we'll definitely be hitting up a cheesesteak spot when we're back there.
You know, just this random thought, you always hear about Philadelphia from a pro sports standpoint of their fans being, you know, they've even booed Santa Claus, and Mike Schmidt got booed. But whenever I would watch a Villanova game, and maybe that's just because, you know, it's kind of colloquial to that Villanova community, but it seemed like they were always a very good fan base. Now, granted, Jay Wright, and while you were on his staff and others gave him a lot to cheer for before that, Rowley and company, but it seems like he had a good fan base out there.
It's actually very similar to Furman. It's just classy. You know, there's classy people that really value the education, I think, most. They really appreciate what a student athlete does, what their commitment is. I think they appreciate the institution first, all those things. They're definitely competitive. Both fan bases want to win. But the leadership, I think, really dictates that. And when you have a leader like Jay Wright and a Clay Hendricks and a Bob Ritchie that demand that of their teams, and they carry themselves a certain way, I think the fan base follows that. We've been in points where, you know, you're not winning and you want to win more at a higher level, and that's right where we are right now with Furman, is we want to win at a higher level, and we're trying to get our fan base ready for what that is. But it takes a commitment, and that's really what I'm here to do, is to try to stoke that fire and help our alumni and our donors move forward to say, what is it going to take for us to be as competitive as we can be on a national level? And we're not far off. So we got a lot of work to do, but we're not that far off.
And the interesting dynamic, too, you go out the Schuylkill, and it's about the same drive from Center City, Philly to the Villanova campus as it is from downtown Greenville out to the Furman campus. So even that, you know, a Greenville school, but kind of set out here with your own community, but very close to the downtown.
And there's a lot of advantage to that. I mean, there's a feeling on this campus that you have when you're here of inclusivity, and there's a feeling here of beauty, and there's a tremendous pride. Like our teams, they love to work out here on this campus, and they love to train here and do these things. And we've just got to be smart enough and agile enough. Here we go again.
Wow.
Look at this.
Corey Watkins looking to add to a huge game, and he is going to take it all the way. And the Furman Paladins just keep on keeping on. That a run of 78 yards. Big plays have been a signature of this dominant performance by Furman on the offensive side, and Watkins his second touchdown of the contest.
I saw our president at halftime, Elizabeth Davis, and I asked her, how are you feeling so far? And she says, I need a couple more points on the board. So that one's for Elizabeth to get us where we need to be and calm those nerves. But again, great team, great discipline. But the final point here is just tapping into Greenville, you know, in terms of what this is, where the growth of this city is. And when I first got here, we went on a retreat downtown, and we met with Mayor Knox, and we met with the Chamber of Commerce, and we met with the Well. And there's a great partnership here between Furman and the city of Greenville that we really want to continue to grow in, and not just Greenville alone, but the upstate, and to really become a brand that's synonymous with a prestigious academic degree and some really hardworking, competitive student athletes that want to benefit from being a part of this community and this culture.
And as you see, Watkins adding to his day, so
man, he's good.
I'm going to call it an 83-yard run. And as a result, Watkins now doesn't have a big yardage number because it carries it in close in, but a couple of running backs, and Wynn and Watkins close to 100 yards. Yeah, talking to Clay Hendricks this week, this team came so close to winning in Atlanta 2 weeks ago. It was right there against a Power 5 in Blacksburg last week. Sometimes those games can knock you down, but I think it was a really an iron sharpening iron kind of experience because they were close. And number 15 team in the country, this is going to open up eyes all around the FCS, probably moves them into the top 10 with what's going to be a lopsided win today.
And you know, talking, Brian Bratton came and spoke, and what an eloquent, amazing man. He spoke at our Hall of Fame last night, and he's assistant coach here, and obviously an accomplished athlete, Hall of Famer at Furman. But he said, he goes, we feel like we've been winning the whole time. You know, we feel like each of those games we played the way we wanted to play. Obviously, there was 1 or 2 turnovers in the second half of both games, but this team is competitive, and they feel that they've been getting better every week. And they talked about in the locker room after, there's been no excuses in terms of what they're going to do, but they believe in what they can do, and they believe that they can be a dominant force at their level within the Southern Conference.
One of the few opportunities today to return for Durden, who was averaging better than 40 yards per run back coming into the game. But again, all phases, this one's going to grade out real well in the film. Give me a final thought here in the final 40 seconds of the quarter we have with you. What was the transition like from going to the everyday of coaching? And before you went to Villanova, I think you were in the D.C. area coaching there. But the transition from the everyday grind of being a coach now to administration, was that difficult?
Yeah, no, it was something that came very naturally to me. You know, I love coaching, and I was fortunate enough. I did it actually for 18 years on the basketball side, and loved every aspect of it. I loved working with the student athletes. I loved being a part of a staff. I loved being part of a team. I had some values in terms of what was important to me as a family, and at the point when my wife and I started having children, I really wanted to be more available as a father. And coaching was challenging. Coaching was challenging because you're working 7 days a week, you're working 24 hours a day, and you're all in when you're working at a championship level. Very similar to what I see our coaching staffs do here. Sure. I was very fortunate that an opportunity presented itself at Villanova to make a transition from coaching into administration with a new athletic director, Mark Jackson, who had come from USC, who had actually gone through a very similar transition. He used to be a part of Pete Carroll's football staff and worked with Bill Belichick. So he had done the same thing. He'd gone from football coaching into administration. I'd gone from basketball coaching into administration. And believe it or not, the really nice thing about it is all the skill sets that you learn being a part of a coaching staff in terms of the work ethic, in terms of the character, in terms of the attention to detail, in terms of the relationships that you have. It just transitions from one to the next. So.
Jason Donnelly, so good of you to come by and visit with us. Good luck as you see your career unfold as an athletic director here at Furman.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Head to the fourth quarter. The number 15 team in the country is rolling. Paladins up 45-10. Fourth quarter here at Paladin Stadium. It is a rout for the Furman Paladins. I'm not necessarily stunned that the game has gone this way because Furman looking so good over their first 3 games despite their 1-2 record based on who they played. But Jared, I think it's impressive in the fact that, as you noted earlier, just about everything that the Paladins have done today they've looked good at, and just about everything Mercer has tried to do, well, Furman's had an answer for it.
You're absolutely right, Pete. I think watching Furman and looking at who they've played and how they've played them the past couple weeks, they want to come out here and make a statement game. And I think that's what we're seeing today. We're seeing a team that is playing with a chip on their shoulder, offensively, defensively, special teams. They're coming out here playing on a mission to prove that, you know, we're the team to be reckoned with within the conference. And you look at that effort right there by the defense.
Day one Wilkins, a little bit of chip on his shoulder right here.
Look, I mean, they're up 45-10, and he's playing like that. That tells you that they're playing with an attitude and a confidence to let folks know in the conference that, hey, the Furman Paladins mean business, and we feel that we should be one of the top teams in the country.
Player down for the Bears. Well, Robert Riddle, as we noted, just like his counterpart Darren Granger, both guys a lot of talent, good starts to their respective redshirt freshman seasons, but still a lot of learning to do under fire. So we've seen big plays galore out of Furman as they continue to attend to that injured player. And frankly, I believe it's one of the offensive linemen, and not sure who it is. It might be Austin Sanders, or all SoCon left tackle. You know, this Corey Watkins play, just off a simple option, an example of what Furman's done today.
Simple option, simple, you know, making the right reads by Granger, getting the pitch out, and just a clean execution on blocking from the perimeter from the skill guys. When you run it perfectly like that, you're going to get big plays. And it doesn't matter if you're on the 10-yard or if you're on the 50-yard line, you can get big plays like that from the option. So great job by Furman's offense. And like I said, they're clicking on all cylinders.
A career long, to say the least, for Watkins on that 83-yard touchdown sprint. Punting situation once again for Gopal. Sims calls for the fair catch and runs up to it. And still with 14:10 to go here in the fourth quarter, the Paladins will send the offense back out there. This is going to open up some eyes around the SoCon, around the country. Furman cruising here in Greenville. With Jared Singleton, Pete Kennedy back with you here in Greenville. The Paladins taking it to Mercer today and sending a message.
Yeah, I mean, Pete, if you look at this offense, they've done a little bit of everything. You know, Granger's been able to do it with his feet. He's been able to make the right reads, get it to his halfbacks, and they've taken it the distance from long ways away from the end zone. The skill players have caught the ball well. Offensive line has played well. I tell you, Pete, you know, if I'm another team in this conference, I'm looking at what Furman's doing, and I'm thinking to myself, man, you know, we have a huge challenge, and quite frankly, I don't see how anybody is going to slow these guys down.
Ham Sisson now in at quarterback, and as he dumped it into the flat to Avery Armstrong, a flag is thrown. Coming up to defend that time for the Bears, Darian Wiggins. So it appears that Clay Hendricks has called off the Dogs with 14:06 to go here in our final quarter, and that big advantage as the officials talk things over. I noted earlier, and a lot of folks who follow these schools familiar with the background and the longtime friendship and professional relationship of Bobby Lamb and Clay Hendricks, two head coaches. That actually goes as an offensive pass interference. And let's see if we can determine what led to the flag. And you see right in front of the play, there was contact while the ball was in the air by Chase Abshire, so it'll back up the Paladins. But they're both from Commerce, Georgia. They were childhood friends, were Hendricks and Lamb, and the Kiwanis Club in Commerce, Georgia has come up with the Furman Mercer Trophy, in which they give it to the winning coach. And well, Clay Hendricks, since he became the head coach here at Furman, has won both meetings on his way to a third straight win against Bobby Lamb and Mercer. And their families still live in Commerce. Their dads are members of the Kiwanis Club, and Clay Hendricks' dad has accepted the trophy on behalf of him at the meetings each year after the Furman Mercer game, and has offered for Clay to bring it up to Greenville, put it in his office. Clay says, no, I'm just going to, you know, you hang on to it. That can be your trophy, Dad. I just think it's interesting that there's a Kiwanis Club in the northern portion of the state of Georgia, the hometowns of these two head coaches that follow this series. Yeah. And what has kind of grown into a little bit of a rivalry since Mercer came into the SoCon earlier this decade.
Yeah, I think you know, Coach Hendricks is like, if it's not a national championship trophy or a conference championship trophy, I don't want it in my office, you know, which is understandable.
Clay Hendricks knows about competing on a high level here at Furman, both as a player in the 80s and as a longtime member of the coaching staff for roughly 20 years under Jimmy Satterfield, the late great Jimmy Satterfield, and Bobby Johnson, and then Bobby Lamb.
And you got to love that he's still coaching. I mean, his guys are up 45-10, you know, in the fourth quarter. You know, it's family weekend, everyone's having a good time, but he's still coaching hard. That shows you the type of person he is. He wants his guys to stay focused and dialed in all the way to the very end of the game, because these guys, they have the makings to be a really good football team, not just in this conference, but in the country.
Sisson, the redshirt freshman out of Birmingham, and it'll bring up fourth down, and we will see the punting unit, and Grayson Atkins, for one of the few times today, will punt the ball away. So Paladins team, their first SoCon game, first time they've played a home SoCon opener since 2015. As we noted at the outset of our telecast, just their third conference opener at home since 2011, but They have made the most of the opportunity. What a booming kick by Atkins. What a talented punter and kicker he is out of Boiling Springs High. And the junior, an absolute mammoth boot. Flipping field position. Mercer goes back on offense deep in its own territory when we come back. Just as we saw Furman go to the reserves on offense, we'll see many of those a little further down in the depth chart get some opportunities here. We are right back at Paladin Stadium next Saturday for our Ingalls SoCon game of the week. A 1 o'clock kick once more between Furman and ETSU. A couple of teams expected to chase after another SoCon crown. That should be a good one. As the Bears just trying to make something positive before they return home for next week's game against Campbell. And a good job that defense swarming. Elijah McCoy among those getting in on the stop. Riddle still in there, finds Durden. While I was visiting with Jason Donnelly, the new athletic director here at Furman, Jared, I did point out one of the keys to this game is containing number 13 and how the Furman defense has really not made Durden a factor. He can really hurt you in that receiving game.
He can, and that's what Furman's, we talked to Coach Hendricks over the week, and he talked about, their defensive strategy is going to be not to get beat deep. They're willing to give up the kind of the small dinks and dunks underneath, but they don't want to get beat deep because these guys have the ability to do just that. But I tell you, from a former player in this conference, you look at other scores, and other folks are looking at this score, 45-10, and they know, Furman lost 2 tough games against 2 really good opponents, but they stuck in the game. And so you best believe a lot of defensive coordinators are going to be up watching this film and trying to figure out how they can slow down this Furman offense, how they can kind of take advantage of this Furman defense and try to pick out the weaknesses. But you don't see a lot of weaknesses, Pete. So it's going to be really interesting to see how teams in this conference, how they game plan against such a really strong and high-powered team in Furman.
Riddle on 1st and 10, and the ball knocked away as he was trying to connect with Landon Miller. Mercer came into this game leading the SoCon at better than 432 yards per contest. Furman has held them to almost half of that total, just 253 total yards in the game for the Bears. On the flip side, a Paladins team that's amassed 532 yards, and we still have more than 10 minutes to go. They're going to get the ball at least one more time. Blitz, Riddle, and trying to throw it away, and in the direction of Cannon. Great job on the pressure at that time as the heat was coming from Day One Wilkins, and there he is again. As I talked about earlier, there are so many promising players on both sides of the ball for this Paladins team, and you look next to their name and it says either freshman or redshirt freshman. The home crowd wanted intentional grounding, but the ball was thrown in the direction of Tucker Cannon, who was at the bottom of your screen. And that's the thing, and Clay Hendricks just in year number 3, but he and the coaching staff he's assembled have some great connections all around the Carolinas and Georgia and up into Tennessee, where George Quarles, he and Bobby Lamb's former teammate and associate here at Furman, has great connections.
And the thing is, Pete, they get guys, young guys that are, it's really tough. Oh, good play.
Jump ball that time, and Durden with what looked like a playful slap to Amir Sims, and he's going to go over and reiterate that. Amir Trapp, rather. And that time Durden, who won a jump ball early in the game with Trapp, and then Trapp got the best of him on a really good pass broken up by the Clemson transfer cornerback for this Furman team. And back near the line of scrimmage, a flag was thrown.
Yeah, like I was saying, Pete, I think Coach Hendricks has done a great job of developing these young players and getting these young players to buy into his system. And when you get young players to buy into your system, and everyone does it across the board from offense and defense and special teams, it makes it a lot easier to see, I guess, the fruits of your labor as a coach. And he's seeing that right now with this team. They're playing really well, and they're playing with high energy, even, with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, being up. With a big lead, they're still playing really hard, and that just shows you that these guys have bought into the system.
And a shanked punt by Gopal. Trapp was back deep, and Ball never got anywhere near him, and they're going to mark that punt out of bounds at the Mercer 46-yard line. So a rough day gets even tougher for Mercer, while the Furman Paladins, as Travis Blackshear and Day-One Wilkins and company, a defense that's limited, a potent offense, just 10 points. Three turnovers forced today by that defense. Hamp Sisson, his second series on in relief of Darren Granger. And quality time now for Sisson, the backup, who actually early on in camp they were talking about how both Sisson and Granger and in a battle, making the leap that time. Watkins trying to get to a 100-yard rushing day, and the fumble is recovered by Mercer. So a second turnover in the game by the Paladins. And falling on it, Joel Gertman for Mercer.
Yeah, I mean, great hold. He just tries to get a little extra, and you know, that's one of those cases, Pete, where, you know, the defender, he hit the ball right where the ball was, and the ball just popped out. It wasn't that he was carrying the ball loose. It just happens to be a perfect hit, and the ball just kind of comes out. It's very unfortunate. It's going to show up on the stat sheet as a turnover, but that shouldn't be any kind of indication of how this Furman offense has been all day. They've been fantastic running the ball. Offensive linemen have done a good job of creating openings for these backs. And, you know, these are good live reps that these backups can really use in the week to kind of prepare, as this is a long season.
Kalen Riley now in at quarterback in relief of Riddle. So after that 13-yard punt by Gopal, his defense bails him out. And a timeout is called, as with Riley, who was the starter for a good part of last season, actually lost the job to Riddle, but then was the one they turned to when Riddle went down in the fourth game, is on here in the fourth quarter. We'll take a timeout with a break in the action. 45-10, Furman cruising here at home. Out of their timeout, Kalen Riley and Mercer first and 10 at their own 38, and the point in the game, Jared, where you're just trying to do what you do as well as you can for Mercer, and that's obviously not going to cut it for DeAndre Johnson, but I guess as much quality as you can get out of these final 9.5 minutes or so is your goal.
Yeah, well, anytime you're playing the game, you want to play it with respect and integrity, and you want to play hard. These guys, you know, even though they may not be starters, they still have practiced really hard and worked hard all week. So, you know, you want to see a good effort from them. And, you know, it's still a long season. I mean, anything can happen. Anybody can get beat. And so you want to take these opportunities to get better as a player and get better within your scheme, so you can take the mistakes and find a way in practice next week to get better and come out next week and capitalize.
DeAndre Johnson opened the season with a 114-yard rushing effort against Western Carolina. His production has fallen off, as has his opportunity over their past couple of games, and for that matter, here in the ball game today. Third down and 4. Riley's first attempt reaching up, and nice job pulling that one down and getting some yards after the catch by Pedro Rodriguez, a true freshman out of Lake Mary, Florida.
And you know, one thing, Pete, you have to have realized that this Furman team, they had to come in here very confident. I mean, this is a team that played two, you know, FBS level teams down to the wire, played them very well.
Riley over the middle, another interception for the Furman defense. Coming away with it for the Paladins, and running it back is Hugh Ryan. He's made an impact in the secondary. True freshman from just outside of the capital city of the Palmetto State in Irmo. And a first career pick for Ryan. And the Paladins again forcing a turnover. That's the fourth one they've come up with today.
Yeah, a little pressure up the middle and kind of made Kalen Riley have to, you know, hurry his throw a little bit. And they're just sitting back in zone, and they're just keeping everything in front of them, making plays on the ball. But looking at their schedule, like I said, you know, they've played two really tough teams early in the year, and you have to think as a Furman Paladin fan that your team feels confident going into conference play. And then they get a bye week kind of in mid-October so they can continue to get healthy. But you have to feel good for what you're seeing. If you're a Furman Paladin fan, you have an offense that is led by a true athlete. You have weapons on all sides of the ball. Your special teams, you're playing really well. You have a great kicker. And obviously you have a great environment here in Furman.
at the university. So they have the makings to be a really good team and have a really good future this year.
Bear Cooper able to jump in and get that tackle for loss for the Bears. 2nd down and 11. Sisson working option. Bobbled initially, but then doing a good job to get upfield is Chase Abshire, and big yards into Mercer territory and down to the 40-yard line of the Bears before he was finally stopped as Ward came up with a stop for Mercer.
That's a great job right there. And the thing is, Chase kind of bobbled that pitch a little bit. That'll kind of get cleaned up as the season goes. But as you see, everyone was on a man. They made the right reads. Everyone was in the right position, hat on the hat, and it creates opportunities for big plays.
Paladins getting close to a 600-yard game, and when you've got a big fella who can bust through like Dominic Roberto, you can get close to another score as he's taken down inside the 10.
I mean, they're just taking the wheel out of Mercer right now. I mean, Furman, they're really doing anything and everything that they want with this Mercer defense. It's been very surprising. You would think you would see a little more fight for Mercer right now from the defense side of the ball, but this offensive line for Furman, I mean, they're coming off the ball, they're creating openings, and these backs for Furman, they're running extremely hard. Like I said, Pete, this has been a statement game that Furman wants to let everyone know in the conference. Furman is serious. Furman is back, and Furman is trying to reclaim their spot as champion.
58 yards on those previous 2 carries. That was a 31-yarder by Roberto. And not a whole lot happening that time. Jeff McElveen is stopped, bringing up 2nd and goal. This is one of these games where just about everyone who dressed for the contest for Furman will see some action. And you always like it when you can get to that point.
Unless you're the other coach.
True. Yeah, exactly. And the Paladins, for the first time since ETSU was here in 2017, have reached that 600-yard mark in total offense. So it gives you an idea of their production today. That might take a yard off of their total, at least for now, as Abshire is thrown to the turf. And last week they managed 231 yards against Virginia Tech and yet lost by just 7 points up in Blacksburg, and they came in averaging 426 yards a game. So big production today.
And Pete, that's a combination of not just great players, but it's also great coaching to understand the schemes, understand throughout the week of breaking down and creating a game plan that's going to put your players in a position to do what they do best. And so I think you have to give the coaching staff a credit. Also give the guys, the scout team, they gave these guys a look all week long so they can get better and produce on Saturday. So you can't forget those big very important factors to why they're so successful and productive today.
McElveen gets those yards back. So now 4th down and goal, and you're kind of in a situation if you're Clay Hendricks. I mean, there's no need to obviously add a field goal, and you've got Atkins who's guaranteed, but you're not just going to take a knee with 4.5 to go. That would probably not send the right message. I think the Paladins, looks like they're going to keep the offense on the field and just run a play after they call this upcoming timeout.
He's better than me, Pete. I mean, if they're still keeping score, I'm still trying to score. So, but like you said, him and Coach Lamb, they go way back. They're good friends, and so he's probably trying to, like you said, do the right thing, just run a play and get the ball over.
And as we said, this is an aberration in this series that was renewed in 2014. The 5 games coming into this one had all been really close, decided by 7 points or less, but that's not the case today. So back home for the Bears, 5 Star Stadium, next Saturday night against the Fighting Camels of Campbell out of the Big South, and then they return to SoCon play. That'll be a big game against Chattanooga on the home field on October 5th before their bye week.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mercer they have a good schedule as well. They want to kind of get to that bye week healthy. That's always important. But at first they're going to definitely go back and look at this tape and see where the mistakes and errors were and how they can correct those before they continue to play, especially in conference play.
4th down and go. Paladins will go for it. McElveen churning, and he'll be stop to the 4, so Paladins will turn it over on downs. And frankly, I don't think Clay Hendricks necessarily minds that. No reason to further add on. This will be a final score that will look like the route that it's been today here on the home field for Furman. And I have a feeling that fellow right there probably couldn't tell you that this game is a rout. As far as he's concerned, it's 13-12 with 4:09 to go in the 4th quarter. But that's one of the beauties of the stadium. They've got a really nice hill area on the far end of the home stands and the scoreboard end. And that lets you bring the kids out here and run around so that this evening when it comes time for the head to hit the pillow, that won't be an issue.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've noted our Ingles SoCon game of the week will be back here at 1 p.m., but I know the Paladins would love to see out here in the stands. And if you go to FurmanPaladins.com, you can find more information, and you can get tickets for that 1 p.m. game against the Bucks of ETSU. And you know, you look around this conference, and it's a league from a football standpoint, the 9 schools all reasonably close to each other. Obviously, Samford to VMI is a bit of a hike, and then those furthest out schools, the Keydets and the Bulldogs, it's a longer drive to those places than most others. But you know, ETSU, ever since they finished I-26 about a decade ago, it's a hop, skip, and a jump from Johnson City down here to Greenville. They'll probably bring a lot, but have a chance to have a great crowd out here. Hopefully have great weather, maybe a few degrees cooler next Saturday at 1 p.m. But go to FurmanPaladins.com for ticket information on that game between the Bucks and the Paladins, which will again be a real big showdown here in conference play in the first month or so of the season. And we will have that game for you on many of these same stations at 1 p.m. next Saturday on our Ingles SoCon game of the week.
And if you can't make it, be sure to tune in, because I mean, what better way to watch and listen to a game than with Pete and Jared, right?
There
Pete?
you go.
I mean,
I'll second that, my man.
What better way?
Tough to come into a game that's a blowout and you're on the losing end of it, as this backup offense for Mercer has, and give credit to the guys out there for that Paladins defense getting opportunities.
And you know, the thing about games like this, Pete, there's never truly a loss. I mean, you can always find some kind of lesson, and you learn a lot about your team. I mean, yes, Mercer's had a lot of success putting up a lot of points, putting up a lot of yards, but I'm sure Coach Lamb is going to learn a lot about his team and see how they react and how do they fight back, how do they practice next week after, you know, taking such a big blow from Furman today. He's going to learn a lot about his team, and the leaders on this team, you know, you're going to really see if you're a captain on the Mercer, you know, team, how strong of a captain and leader you are, because when you take one like this, and I'll tell you as a player, you know, we played against Baylor when Baylor had that high-powered offense, and we lost like 69-3. It was terrible. But the next week we bounced back and we were able to beat Georgia Southern, because, you know, we had leaders that said, look, we're going to learn from it and we're going to get better. Same thing with this Mercer team. They're going to learn from this and find ways to get better, because they did play against a really good Furman team today.
Caleb Auer coming through with the sack, a senior out of Buford, Georgia. He's put a lot of heart and soul into this program, and a big moment right there. And once again, Mercer forced to punt it away. Take a look at Auer.
Yeah, he just kept working. And, you know, that's one thing that the defensive linemen, their coach, should always keep working to get to the quarterback. He did a great job of keeping his motor going and until he got home.
They've also gone to their backup punter, Amir Trapp. Near his own 35, they'll say he made the fair catch at the 36. And so each team, again, getting lots of guys in there in action today. But the Furman Paladins will get their overall record to 500. They'll start SoCon play once again at 1-0. And now look to build momentum. And whereas Mercer was trying to come in here and get another road win in conference play and go to 2-0 in the conference, both wins away from home. Furman needing to protect the home field, and guys like Amir Trapp and others, you can tell, were focused on that mission from the get-go. Paladins simply going to go into victory formation. Their total yards before that kneel down by Sisson was 604 yards. It's essentially a 600-yard day. Now, technically, because he stepped back a couple of yards, they'll take off that total. So at the end of the day, it may not show them at the 600-yard milestone. But as we told you earlier, it is their biggest offensive output since ETSU was here a couple of seasons ago.
You know, one thing that Furman's going to have to be sure to be careful of, Pete, they're going to read all week about how great they were and how they put up 600 yards of offense, how everything was clicking for them on all three phases of football. You know, the paper's going to have nice things about them. The students are going to say nice things about them. But how are they going to keep the level head? How are they going to keep the same energy, that same hunger? Because it's a long season. And if you get too high on the horse and you start thinking too good about, you know, or you start feeling that you're better than you really are, you can get upset. And so it's going to be really important to see how Coach Hendricks tackles that this week in practice and as they continue on with such great success that they've had so far this year.
Our final snap, Ham Sisson and the Paladins can now formally celebrate a 45-10 victory against the Mercer Bears. Third straight win by the Paladins in this series. The head coaches out of the middle of the field, longtime friends Clay Hendricks and Bobby Lamb. We saw them shaking hands. This was a game that Furman took control of early and never looked back, and the Paladins a decisive victory, a message-sending victory here today.
Definitely a message-sending victory in all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams. They were just clicking on all cylinders. They've done a great job. Like I said, a true great day today for the Furman Paladins, and they have a lot of weapons to use going forward.
Corey Watkins, one of the big plays. Paladins several plays today, well over 70 yards, some big drives, and Brian Okey and the Paladins defense sending a message as well, limiting Mercer to just 10 points. Next week, right back here in Greenville, 1 o'clock, Furman and ETSU. For Jared Singleton, Pete Yanity saying so long.